Good afternoon. This is the Board of Appeals, Town of Hempstead, August 9th, 2023, 2 p.m. meeting. Mr. Chairman, do you have any opening remarks?
I do, as usual. For those of you who have not been here before, the protocol that we follow is we first call the adjournments, if there are any, and I believe there are. There is at least one. Secondly, we'll call the cases. The order in which we call them, the applicant will come up, make their case. If there are any objections, they too have the opportunity to come up and voice their objections. If you have something to say that someone else has said before you, you are free to abbreviate your presentation and say, the person who appeared just before, I agree with everything they say. Then the counsel for, or the applicant themselves will be given the opportunity to rebut anything that was said by the opposition. We take emails into account. The proceedings are taken down. We have a court reporter. They are live streamed. They are archived so that any of you can review them at your leisure, if you so choose. And I believe that's sufficient, unless you want me to bore everybody in the courtroom. Go right ahead, Patrick. Call the
Okay.
first case.
So we do have a number of adjournments for this afternoon.
God bless.
Applications for adjournments. First is case 50923, Merrick Grace Reformed Baptist Church. Install 8-foot and 10-foot high fences, also known as 36 Smith Street.
Is there anyone here? Okay.
Just your name and address for the record.
Name and address for the record.
Daniel Totter, 13.
You said turn the mic on. There's a button on the...
Could you, yeah. Could you speak into the microphone,
Sure.
sir?
Sure, my name is Daniel Totter
Better.
with 36 Smith Street in Merrick.
Okay. And you would like an adjournment, and this is the first time this case is on, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what is the reason for the request for an adjournment?
Just the mailings haven't gone out.
That's a good reason.
Well, they still didn't go out. Usually they go, well, they went out a day late or something. So do you know now the mailing window you have?
Yes, yeah, they explained it to me, I guess, based on what the new date is.
And you have already the notice that you need to mail, so you're,
No, I don't have it yet, no, yeah.
So we can put him on the September 13th calendar at 2 p.m. That would provide sufficient mailing notice. The mailing period starts tomorrow.
Do you
does he
need,
know how to get the notice that he needs?
So you go down and speak with somebody down in the BZA office. You can you speak with Dawn.
Make sure that they know, well, Dawn's here, so she knows, she's
Yes.
quite confident. Make sure that you point out to whoever you speak to, if it's not Dawn,
Yes, ma'am,
what your mailing date is, so that they get you what you need.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you. I was actually going to ask for the following week, maybe, if that was possible, the 13th.
September,
The 13th is the earliest that
September
we can do.
13th.
Is it possible to have the next, is
No,
there-
the mailing period is already closed.
No, he wants a later
Oh, you
a
want
date.
a later date, yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you want a later date?
Yeah.
We could do, how much more time do you,
Either the following Wednesday or the next one after that, that's fine.
we can do September 27th,
That would be great.
Is that better for you?
That's perfect, yeah. Thank you so much.
Right.
2 p.m.
2 p.m., Patrick?
2 p.m. works, sir.
September 27th, 2 p.m.
Thank you.
Make sure you go get your stuff.
Make sure you get,
Definitely, yeah.
okay.
That's it.
That's it.
Have a nice day.
Okay. Next, we have case 51123, Woodmere, Young Israel of Woodmere. I believe, I'm not sure if the gentleman, somebody had contacted us regarding an adjournment. I don't know if he's here.
Anyone here on
51123?
511 of 23. Come up, sir.
we got
Just your
number.
name and address for the record.
Name and address.
My name is Greg Wagner. I'm here representing Peter and Monica Wagner, who live at 842 Peninsula Boulevard in Woodmere. They're not in town at the moment. They've asked me to come here and speak for them.
Are they the applicants or not the applicants?
They are not.
The applicants?
No, they are
No,
not
they are
the
not.
applicants.
Okay, so when we call people up, Mr. Flum, are you for the, okay, so let's hear from you first.
Okay.
So you were the only one who was quick to raise your hand, but now we have the other group
Yeah,
who
the
was
acoustics
apparently
aren't
asleep
great
at the
in here.
wheel. No, just scoot that way. You don't have
Okay.
to move, just scoot like to the end chair. And then we'll listen to him and then we'll listen to you. Did you guys, by the way, speak before this? No. Oh, too bad. Okay.
Will you speak after this?
Just your name and address.
Hi, my name is Shmuel Flam, residing 194 Wanzer Avenue, Inwood, New York, 11096. I'm here representing the, well,
Young Israel of Woodmere.
Young Israel of Woodmere, yes. So, our variance that we're seeking before the board today is for playground equipment to be proposed in the front yard in a partially vacant space that's been part of the property for the synagogue for many years. They're seeking to install 3 different pieces of playground equipment for,
All right. No,
So apparently, someone would like maybe
You-
adjournment?
you-
Is that what you're seeking? I'm not sure. Oh, okay, so then go ahead.
wait,
Oh, well,
I thought you were requesting adjournment, so I didn't want to get into the merits, but
he's,
well, the case was called predicated upon it being an adjournment. If it's not an adjournment, then we'll take it in order. He's not?
yeah, that's why we called it.
Why don't you tell us why you're here? Oh, this guy, Wagner?
He's saying he doesn't want to.
Well, he's not sure.
All right.
So he wants an adjournment. That's the abbreviated edition.
Yes. So we're going to put you guys
So-
back in the audience.
All right.
Mr. Bogle, he can call his clients while we're getting.
He doesn't have clients.
All right, back.
okay.
Any adjournments?
We have one more. Cases 318 through 319-23, Inwood, JJ and A Realty LLC, use variance to construct one-story warehouse with office not permitted in Res C District, special exception to park in Res C District, and to park in front yard with variances for side yard and rear yard, install 6-foot-high fence forward of the dwelling, also formerly known as 58 Zabit Street.
Dominic Minerva, attorney for the applicant. Just to update the board, this is a second request for an adjournment. The first request was my request. The applicant wanted to revise the plan. They had filed even before the pandemic, and they had decided that they needed to tweak the plan. Since the last adjournment, they did re-engage the architect. The architect updated the plan, resubmitted to the building department, and the building department issued some objections. They're working through those objections. So I'm going to request a 3-month adjournment, so we have some time to try and get this all straightened out, and hopefully be able to move forward on the next date.
Is there anyone else here on this case?
My recollection
Yes,
is
no?
no one appeared on the, my first
Okay.
request for the adjournment, my recollection is no one appeared. We did
All right.
update the signs, and we'll do so again.
Patrick, a date?
November 15th
Thank you,
at 2 o'clock.
thank you. Thank you, have a good day.
You too.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any other applications for adjournment.
Okay, let's call the first case for the afternoon. 504 through 508. Patrick?
We'll start with cases 504-23 through 508-23, Oceanside, Joseph Seeger. Variance side yard, maintained cellar entrance, attached dwelling. Special exception to maintain second accessory structure, shed higher than permitted. Special exception to maintain third accessory structure, shed higher and larger than permitted, exceeding horizontal maximum and not permitted in the side yard. Special exception to maintain fourth accessory structure, pavilion higher than permitted and not permitted in the side yard. Special exception to maintain fifth accessory structure, outdoor kitchen with trellis, not permitted in the side yard. Also known as 28A Malin Place.
Lion Place. Ah. Are you still in the piece?
Yes, I do.
They told me I couldn't get a variance for a two-family dwelling.
Louis Trentadue, 32 Design Studio, 133 Lincoln Avenue, Pelham, New York.
1 second.
Yes.
So many requests here, I can't get it all written down. Go ahead.
Okay, firstly, thank you for having us here this afternoon. I represent the interest of Mr. and Mrs. Seeger. They are here to my left regarding variances they require for their property at 28A Malin Place. We're here for case numbers 224015.
504 to 508.
I'm sorry, we're here for case number 504, 505, 506, 507, and 508. We're seeking relief from the board in regard to existing conditions that have to be maintained.
How long
These,
have they been there?
the existing conditions have been there between the years 2000 and 2013. On our site plan, we have the year of construction for each of the applications.
Before you go, how did you come to know they needed to be legalized?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How did you or your clients come to know they needed to be legalized, and did you have any complaints from the neighbors?
I'm wearing a hearing aid, I still can't hear you.
I know, my voice
Want me to
is
come up to
bad.
you?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to think I can make this work. How did you come to know they needed to be legalized, and did you have any complaints from the neighbors?
We've had no complaints from the neighbors. Mr. Seeger reached out to us approximately a year and a half to 2 years ago. He was in the process of considering selling his home so that he could move. And in agreement with him, we did a broom sweep through all of the existing permits from the house, search records and what have you, and we determined that there were several items that did not have permits, let alone C of Os. So there are other applications that don't pertain to our reasons for being here today. You'll see on the site plan, there is a swimming pool with fence enclosures.
Oh, slow down. So you have a pool that's a ride-along.
Yes.
What else do you have as a ride-along?
There is an existing air conditioner.
That doesn't need relief,
That is on the east side of the property.
but it doesn't need relief from us.
It does not need relief from you.
Keep going.
There's also maintained to acquire a lot that Mr. and Mrs. Seeger purchased, and the plan examiner noticed that that did not have a permit, so
Wait,
that was also,
maintain to acquire a lot?
yeah.
How does that happen?
What is that?
Why do you need a maintain to acquire a lot?
There was no record with the town of Hempstead in regard to the acquisition of that lot as being part of the property. The
But wait,
plan-
wait, but
There's no deed
maintain-
on record?
Excuse me?
There is no deed on record?
There was a deed, but the deed needed to show that Mr. Seeger had purchased it. The plan examiner was comparing a prior survey to the latest survey. The latest survey showed that that lot was on his property, so Mr. Seeger had to file a separate application along with the deed to demonstrate that he did properly own that lot through purchase.
But wait, maintain to acquire a lot. Maintain means you want to keep something where it is, even if you cut property off of it. So is it because he wants to maintain this stuff even if he doesn't acquire it, or maintain it if he does in fact acquire it, or
Okay,
some
I'll
other
try to
machination?
clearly, I'll try to more clearly explain. He had purchased the lot properly.
A lot,
When-
not on our site plan.
When did he do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear either of you.
When did he acquire the lot?
Okay, I don't have that information with me. May I ask Mr. Seeger if he
Certainly.
recalls?
Roughly.
Thank you. Okay, 2005.
And that lot, That lot is not part of the site plan here, right?
You are correct. It's not part of
Okay,
our
keep going now.
request for appeal.
'Cause tell us why that's relevant to our inquiry.
Okay, it actually is not relevant.
Okay.
I was only just stating there were things that we had
Okay.
cleaned up prior to our being here.
Okay, you got
All
it.
right, thank you.
So as it relates to the ride-alongs, you have the AC and the pool. Anything else?
No,
Other
there are
than
no
that-
other items. Okay.
Okay, let's get going.
Well, let's start with the dwelling. We're here for the dwelling because the Seeger family had, at some point, built a second story onto the home without permits. This was done at a time when Mr. Seeger was younger, would you, and his father assisted in building this. His father was a contractor. The expansion of the dwelling included the second story and the side yard addition and a rear yard addition.
Wait, Mr. Trentadue. The only maintain here as it relates to the dwelling is the cellar entrance. So if there's something on the second level or whatever,
No,
that's
the
got to be
only
an
item
as of
that
right
affected-
situation.
The only item that affected that application was the cellar Bilko door, the side
The
cellar
cellar
entrance.
entrance. So tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Yeah, so the side cellar entrance was actually original to the home. The plan examiner felt that it was not inherently part of the original process, so he required that it become part of this application to appeal.
What's in the cellar?
Excuse me?
What is
Have you been to
in,
the house?
what is in
Many,
this
many
cellar?
times.
What's in the cellar?
In the cellar is a mechanical room. It's an unfinished cellar. There are some knickknacks from years of activity hanging on the walls. There's no finish at all. There's no heat. It's not conditioned space. The only change that Mr. Seeger has to make to the cellar is he would have to put fire-rated enclosures around the boiler and mechanical system.
So the only sorry, my voice is
That's
bad.
okay.
The only reason the cellar entrance is here is for the side yard.
That's correct.
So what is allowable, what do you propose?
We're allowed 5 feet.
What do you
We
propose?
are proposing 1.2 feet.
Okay, and the cellar entrance has been there for how long?
The cellar has been there since the
No,
dwelling.
the entrance,
The entrance has been there since the house was built.
which you estimate as when?
We estimate the house was built sometime in, I believe, may I ask Mr. Seeger if I'm incorrect? I believe the house was built. Yeah,
Okay. And no complaints from the neighbors? Again, we're just back to legalizing everything, so we might be able to offload it if we want. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
there've been no complaints from the
Good,
neighbors.
keep going.
Shall I proceed, or?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, okay. So the next part of the conversation we'd like to express to you is in regard to the accessory structures.
Right.
He's seeking relief for 5 accessory structures. I'm going to start with the sheds. I'll start with the easier of the two. It is a shed on the northern side of the property. It is is approximately, it's approximately 10 by 10.
Can't hear you, Mr. Trent.
It's approximately 10 by 10.
Say it louder.
Oh,
So if you could go through the calendar, it would help us a lot. Second accessory structure shed higher than permitted.
yes. One of the sheds is a smallest shed on the north side of the property. It's a storage shed, if you will. The second shed is a larger shed that's closer to the entrance of the dwelling. That shed has an overhead coiling door. It is not a garage. There is no way to turn a vehicle into that. The overhead coiling door was built into the shed because inside the shed, Mr. Seeger and his father used to do tool work together. So there is lighting, there's no heating, there's no air conditioning. There is a wood floor. It would never serve as a garage, if you will.
You know the shed that has the only variance it needs is to be higher, which I think is the shed, I assume in the northern corner, I don't see the directional here.
It's a third one.
The shed, I don't have a directional, but I'm going to assume it's the northeast corner.
But the longer shed, would that be?
The shed that's 9 by 26, 8 by 26, 8 by 26. I'm just looking for the shed that only needs height. So I'm guessing that's the one, because I know it's not larger or horizontal.
Yeah, the height of one of the sheds is 12'8", and that is the longer of the two sheds.
Wait, but there's one shed that only needs height.
Height,
There's
that's
another shed that needs height and something else. So my guess is the shed that only needs height is the one that's 8.26 by 8.26, because I can kind of deduce that it doesn't need much else.
That's correct.
So what is the height of that shed?
The shed that is the smaller of the two sheds is, excuse me, I'm sorry, it's 10 feet to the ridge.
And 9 is allowable.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
so that's accessory structure 2.
Yes.
So let's move to 3. Okay? 3 needs height larger than permitted and horizontal, and side yard. So tell us about that one. That, I'm guessing, is the one you're calling this longer one.
Okay, the longer shed is 12 feet 6 inches to the ridge.
Okay, hold on. So for that one, we need height of 12
12.6
what?
12.6
It's
to the
12 foot
ridge.
6.
Where 9 is allowable. Looks like you need horizontal on both, because one is 4.26 and 12.21. 12 is allowable, obviously. So
That's
that's the
correct.
horizontal. You obviously need larger, 144 square feet is allowable. What's the square footage?
The square footage of this shed it's 12 by 24.
And change.
Oh, I have it, I'm sorry, I have it on our survey.
300.
The larger of the two sheds is 296.22 feet.
Okay, and then that shed also needs not permitted in the side yard. Tell us why you need it in the side yard.
That's correct.
Tell us why you need it there,
Yes,
as a practical matter.
yes. Okay.
No, that's
Go
not a
on.
yes or no question.
The answer is not
No,
yes.
it's my voice, it's not his fault. Tell us why you need that shed where it's located now, as opposed to in a place that doesn't require
Oh,
variance.
okay. Well, firstly, the property, as you saw, was a flag lot. Where Mr. Seeger's father placed that shed, he construed as his backyard. He did not have any particular reason for locating it there.
Why do you need it there now?
It is there now so that it can be more easily accessible. They do keep a snow blower in there. Their driveway is right off of the entrance to the home, so the snow blower is more easily able to be removed from the shed so that they can use that to plow their driveway.
And I'm guessing, given the changes that have occurred over the time of the property, it reduces the other possible locations. There's been no complaints.
Yes, that is true. There have been no complaints.
All right, so the fourth accessory structure is your pavilion.
Uh,
That
it's
needs
a-
height and side yard. Tell us about that.
Sure. The fourth accessory structure is a pool pavilion. It's a roofed-over porch, if you will. It is in the side of the yard that is to the left of the dwelling. It is 12 feet in height. It
Wait,
is-
I'm sorry, Mr. Trendido, is that called a pergola on the land, on the survey, or no?
Is that called a
something
what?
else? Hold on.
Pavilion.
Do you
Is
want
the
me to give you-
pavilion called a pergola on the site plan? Sometimes they do that.
I'll take a look.
Is it 16.5 by 10.86?
It's called a pergola on the site plan.
That's what
Yes.
Okay, keep going,
You're looking at the site plan was derived from a ghosted image of the survey.
whatever.
So
Let's go.
this structure is really just for outdoor engagement, outdoor recreation. There's no intention to ever build walls around it, as close as it is to the
And your
home.
clients would accept a condition in that regard?
Yeah.
Mr. Bogle, condition on the pergola / pavilion, no sides. And what's the height?
The height is 12 feet to the ridge.
Where 9's allowable, we just have to make the record.
Yes.
Okay. And then you have it in the side yard. Why does it need to be in the side yard?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Sorry. And you also request to put it in the side yard where it's not usually permitted.
Right.
So tell us why, given the layout of the land and the time things have been where they are, and
Sure.
how it doesn't impact the neighbors, why we should allow you to have it where it
Yeah,
is.
There have been no complaints from any of the neighbors. The location of this pool pavilion is fairly based on what the name states. It's very close to the pool. Mr. Seeger and his father placed it in that location for the enjoyment and use of their family and so on.
Okay. And then you have the fifth accessory structure with the outdoor kitchen with trellis. What is that on our site plan? Because there's no outdoor kitchen with trellis on the site plan, but there are other things that it probably is.
Okay.
Oh, I see a barbecue.
Would you like me to talk about the outdoor kitchen and trellis?
Yes,
That'd be a
please.
nice idea.
Excuse me?
Yes,
That
please.
That
Okay,
would be a
I'm-
nice idea.
I'm very sorry.
Yes.
So there is an outdoor barbecue area. It is a permanent structure that was built with a trellis. It serves the function of being able to be used for cooking. There's no direct feed of gas, there's no plumbing. This item as well, along with the other reasons we're here before the board, has not been, there's been no negative expression of disappointment from any of the neighbors, if you will.
Hold on, Mr. Trentadue.
Okay?
I'm a little confused because the outdoor kitchen and trellis is rejected as, number one, a fifth accessory structure, but not permitted in the side yard. And if I was betting, that thing is right in the middle of your property.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how that's in the side yard. Can you tell me? Yeah, let me back up.
No
The
problem.
thing that says barbecue on my site plan, that is the outdoor kitchen and trellis, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that not smack in the middle of your property?
It's right smack in the middle of the property.
Okay.
Do you happen to know why it was rejected for side yard? For being in the side yard? This thing is right smack in the middle of the property.
Why side yard?
Let me just see.
If you need me to approach and assist, just let me know, I'll come up. I know this project is very
I
intricate.
understand English, but.
Excuse me? Flagpole is gone. Yeah, the plan
That's not a
examiner,
good thing.
yeah. That's okay.
Mr.
Could you
Trenchard,
approach, could you approach, please? So,
Go ahead. Stephanie, just let the record reflect the counsel or the architect for the applicant approach to show us, to confirm the area that is the subject property, some portion of the area owned nearby, and explain to us how they need a side yard variance for the barbecue slash what trellis that's in the middle of the property. And now it's clear to the board.
Explain to us why it's not really necessary, so we just wasted a hell of a lot of time talking about something that isn't.
Go ahead, Mr. Trent, to do what
Thank
else
you.
do you
Right
have?
ahead.
Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to explain some of the items. This is a tricky case.
I'm sad you did take down the flagpole, though.
Yes.
Flagging a
Well, I didn't
flagpole
do
is a
it,
good
but
thing.
The flagpole, as I had mentioned, the plan examiner required a separate application for it. The owner was not using the flagpole, and he decided to take it down. Okay.
Understood.
Yeah.
It's great.
The only other comment I have is that we do have consent letters from 3 of the neighbors. I'd like to approach the board and give these to them. Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll take them into evidence.
The affected neighbors are the 2 residences closest to Malin and a neighbor across the street. And I will open up to other questions if you do have any.
Go ahead. You finished?
Oh, yes,
That's your
I
case?
don't have any other comments, but I'm very happy to answer any more questions that you might have.
No. Do I have any other questions from the board?
I move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Trent, to do, you and your clients will all receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you, and everyone have a nice day.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. We very
You're
much
welcome.
appreciate it.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank
Next,
God.
we have case 51023, Roosevelt SK Property Corp. Variance in off-street parking, permission to park in front yard setbacks on Nassau Road and West Clinton Avenue, and insufficient backup space. Use variance to maintain warehouse addition, also known as 453 through 455 Nassau Road.
I know I'm back. I like you guys too. Yes. Yes. I've had many court officers over the years scream at me and kick me, and it's well-deserved. So, exactly. For the applicant, Thomas McKevitt, Son, Ward, Braff, Koblenz, 333 Earl Overton Boulevard, Uniondale, New York, 11553.
For the record, Wayne Muller, Robinson and Muller Engineering, offices at 50 Elm Street, Huntington, New York.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you, Mr. McKevitt.
I represent the applicant, Roosevelt SK Property Corporation, the applicant in this matter. This is a request for a variance in off-street parking, permission to park in the front yard setbacks of Nassau Road and West Clinton Avenue, insufficient backup space, and a use variance for a warehouse addition according to the building department. The location is, yes, we're going to talk about that one.
Like that.
The location of the premises is 453 to 455 Nassau Road in Roosevelt, also known as Section 55, Block 429, lots 175 on the land tax map of Nassau County. It is a Business X district. It's located in the southwest corner of West Raymond Street, Nassau Road, and the northwest corner of West Clinton Avenue and Nassau Road. So it has both streets on the north and south of it. My clients owned the premises for approximately 23 years. The premises is 17,074 square feet and is the site of a one-story masonry building. It was constructed in 1951. Building is 9,343 square feet. I've actually taken a number of pictures of the area last week, which the Secretary of the Board is handing to the board, which indicates not only the subject premises, but the surrounding properties. To the north of the subject premises on Nassau Road is a Bola Market and gas station. To the south is actually an abandoned retail store, which was a deli upon several months ago and has recently gone out of business. To the west on Raymond Avenue, if you see the third picture, is a very unusual church building, which is actually half sunken into the ground, is that design. The rest of West Raymond Avenue are one-family residential dwellings, and on the West Clinton Avenue are also one-family residential buildings. Across the I'm getting slower. I'm getting there. On the east side of Nassau Road are a Baptist church, Chinese food takeout, a junior food center, a gospel lighthouse assembly, which I'm told has not been operating for quite some time, as well as an auto repair shop. This property's had a number of uses over the years, including at one time a deli, at one time a church. The present site of our proposed deli on this store was once a hardware store, but that's been vacant for about 3 or 4 years. So for the last 3+ years, this has been a vacant space. The southern part of this property is a laundromat that was initially approved by this board in 2003 in case number 26503. And then they came back to expand the laundromat into the former church part of the property in 2005. So in December of 2005, in cases 901, 902, the board not only approved the laundromat, but also granted off-street parking variances where 47 spaces were required, 16 were provided, as well as variance in the backup aisle for the insufficient backup. So what I gather is, looking at the site plans, the site plan of the parking space is exactly what was approved by the board back then, but it looks like 2 additional spaces were added in the middle aisle of parking. So there's parking on Nassau Road, there's parking in the rear, and the middle, it appears they've added a couple of spaces in that area is where they pick up those extra parking spaces today. The current application is for a deli on the northern portion of the property, which was once the hardware store. The proposed hours will be Sunday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. There will be a total of 3 employees in the deli. In addition to the rear of the deli, we're looking to maintain a storage part of the building. It's 879 square feet. For some reason, the Department of Buildings has determined this to be a storage warehouse that requires a use variance. This is simply storage as part of the deli, which thousands of businesses in the town of Hempstead has. So I'm respectfully requesting that no use variance is required there. It's simply storage accessory to the deli. And the planning examiner questioned it. I know even the staff to the board questioned it, but that was a determination of the planning examiner that it needed a use variance. And I, again, argue that it's absolutely not. It's just where storage of the product for the deli is going to be stored. As indicated before, the parking calculations require 49 spaces, 19 are provided. Because of that, I do have Wayne Muller here today from RM Engineering. As you know, he's been qualified as an expert on many cases for this board. And after your initial inquiry, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that this board once again recognize Mr. Muller as an expert in traffic and parking.
Mr. Muller, you have been qualified by this board as an expert witness for traffic on many occasions. Since the last time you were qualified, have any of your qualifications changed for the worse?
No, there have been no changes.
For the better?
Just getting older.
Okay.
Just keep getting older.
You are then qualified
Thank you.
as an expert for traffic.
May I just ask a question or two before Mr. Mueller begins his testimony? So you're here for a use to maintain a warehouse. This looks to me like a convenience store that's been in operation, leaving aside the parking stuff. So is it transferring to a warehouse? Is it just the storage for the convenience
Storage
store?
for the deli.
Explain what it is.
It's storage for the convenience store.
And how long has it been operating this way?
The property's been vacant for 4 years. It used to be a hardware store. Hardware store was out of business for several years ago. The property's been vacant.
Okay, because this is like maintain a warehouse addition. That's
Yes.
what it's-
It was built several years ago, that little storage, again, maybe as
Oh, so
accessory.
you're saying before it was empty, someone added on some storage space, then it was empty, and now it's being characterized as maintain warehouse addition?
That's how the building department characterized it. It's going to be part of the storage for the deli. That's what it's going to be for.
How many square feet is,
879 square feet.
okay. And if that doesn't seem to me to be a warehouse.
It's not.
So if we weren't to characterize it as a warehouse,
It's storage accessory to the deli.
Okay, thank you. You
I think it's easy.
anticipated my question.
Thank you.
'Cause that's kind of what I thought it was.
Again, for the record, Wayne Muller, Robinson and Muller Engineering, offices at 50 Elm Street, Huntington, New York. For the record, I submit copies of a parking analysis that we prepared dated August 9th, 2023, and that's made part of the record. The project has been well described by Mr. McKevitt as far as what we're seeking here today as far as for relief from the board. As indicated by Mr. McKevitt and as displayed on the plans prepared by JM2 Architecture, a total of 49 parking spaces are required for the composite building in accordance with the
Sorry, Mr. Muller, how many?
49.
49,
I'm doing too many things.
in accordance with the building zone ordinance requirements, and there are 19 parking
provided.
spaces provided on the subject property.
How many are acceptable? Because I know you need backup and stuff too.
I do not know the answer to that question. I didn't study that.
You
but
don't know how many they accepted? I know you have 19, but you also need insufficient backup. That means some of your 19 weren't acceptable. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'd say about 7 or 8 of them are probably unacceptable, if we're just looking at the plan. The ones in the center, really.
So 49 needed, the building department accepted
19.
14, I believe.
14.
And then there's
you have
5.
5 you need the backup on.
5 in the middle that don't have the backup space. In order to, as Mr. McKevitt indicated, the subject property currently is existing, including the storage for the proposed deli. The tenants on the property currently consist of a laundromat, a tax service place, and then the vacant proposed deli portion of the building, which is located on the northern side of the property. We performed observations of the existing activity at the property on Friday, July 28th, 2023, and again on Saturday, July 29th, 2023. And what we found was on Friday, on site, there were a maximum at 1 o'clock in the afternoon of 8 vehicles parked, leaving 11 vacant spaces. And on Saturday, there were a total of 7 vacant spaces. In addition, we observed the quantity of vehicles that were parked on both Nassau Road and West Clinton Avenue along the site frontage, and on West Raymond Avenue along the site frontage. The long and short of it is that based on our observations and the level of activity that we would anticipate to be generated by the proposed deli, there would be sufficient parking both on the property and on Nassau Road to accommodate the activity generated by the proposed deli.
Mr. Mueller, I just want to, pardon me, but in looking at the Google Maps that Ms. Adams, Ms. Adams is very astute at and shows me, and coordinating that with the site plan, the subject property that you speak of is the one that's further to the north if the directional is right. Is that correct?
Yes, the
And then
northernmost
there's a-
unit.
Okay, and then there's a small thing that is tax services, I think?
Liberty Tax, I believe.
It's so hard to read.
Yep,
And then there's the laundromat.
the laundromat
And then there's
comprises,
these parking spots to which you refer.
there's the parking
So
area,
in your
correct.
analysis, did you only, I'm assuming those other 2 businesses are in operation.
Yes, the tax service and the laundromat are currently operational.
And I'm assuming that all 3 of these businesses go forward, if it's approved, would share this parking area.
That's correct,
And did your analysis take that into account?
yes.
Okay. And
In addition, there is permitted on-street parking on Nassau Road along the frontage and on both sides of Nassau Road. There's a traffic signal at the intersection of Clinton Avenue and Nassau Road that has crosswalks and pedestrian push buttons and don't walk signals for people to safely cross the road if they were to park on the east side of Nassau Road to go to the deli. So from a traffic safety perspective, the signal at that location provides the requisite pedestrian safety features in order to have people safely cross the road. In addition, the spaces on Nassau Road along the site frontage, we found that to be that significantly utilized. And the way that a convenience store, or excuse me, a deli would operate is typically people are there for very short periods of time. They'll go in, they'll get whatever they need from the deli, get back in their car and leave. So it's a high turnover type business rather than people parking there for long extended periods of time as they would for other retail uses. So therefore, based on the analysis that we prepared, it is my professional opinion that there is sufficient parking both on the site and on the street, to accommodate the activity that would be generated by the deli if the board were to approve this application as contemplated here this afternoon.
Was the 49 number calculated to include the proposed deli, the tax service, and the laundromat?
That's correct.
So it's the group is a 49?
It's the whole building.
And
It's
then-
essentially one little shopping center.
Right. And if you said it, I apologize. Can you tell us a little bit about the non-simultaneous use of the tax group? And then, I guess, what are the deli hours? I'm sorry.
Proposed deli hours are 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, so to the extent that there's non-simultaneous, obviously with tax is, you can easily say, to the extent that the laundromat, it may overlap at least 6 of the days, but can you tell us all about what we need to know about non-simultaneous?
Sure, I mean, I think we've all been to delis. I mean, in my experience, delis are pretty busy in the morning, people getting whatever they want, breakfast, whatever, on their way to work.
As are laundromats.
I know, based on my studies of laundromats, they're more busy in the evening. People are done with work, they go to the laundromat.
Oh, I thought you were going for the fact that everyone in a deli and a laundromat goes boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, laundromats, I mean, people tend to be there a little bit longer, right? They may wait with their clothes. Some people drop them off, they go and they leave and they go home. Laundromats generally service a specific area in and around the laundromat. I wouldn't drive to a laundromat that's too far from my house. You'd find one that's closer to your house to go to, or some people may even walk or take other modes of transportation to get there. But yeah, the tax service, my opinion, would be pretty much at night. If people go get their taxes done at night, I mean, my accountant does mine. I have no idea when he does them, but
I'm thinking the taxes are definitely non-simultaneous.
yeah, they're very, very low.
9 to 5, and
Yeah.
delis are on the ends
Yeah.
and at lunch.
And delis specifically are busy during the morning hours, the afternoon, and then they taper off in the evening.
Do you know the laundromat hours?
The laundromat hours are open from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from, I think, from 6 a.m. to midnight, and I think on Friday and Saturday, it's from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. And the last load of wash is allowed at 10:30 p.m.
Because some of them are 24, and a lot of people actually utilize the laundromats, like literally, like not when the deli's open. It's like 8. You know, the night hours seem to be popular at laundromats.
Right, there's actually a posted sign inside the laundromat which indicates the hours are, it does close, it's not 24/7, but I do agree with Mr. Muller, you know, the peak time of the deli is going to be in the early morning hours, where the peak for the laundromat is more in the evening hours.
Yes, and I know that that's how you memorize those, because you must have seen that sign and your eyes took a picture.
I did.
I know.
As soon as I saw the sign, I
have
mentioned
the
it.
same problem.
Is that your case?
Yes.
Okay, we have someone in opposition. I believe it's Ms. Cook.
So give her
Please
the podium to speak.
speak into the microphone.
No karaoke now.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. My name is Doris Cook, and I live 20 West Raymond Avenue in Roosevelt.
West.
Yes. Second house from Bowler, just came in there. Mhm. Now, I don't understand, I didn't hear that clearly, but the washing machine place is open 24 hours. So I don't know what they're talking about.
Kevitt, in answer to my question, said that he was referencing a sign. Now, if that's inaccurate, then the sign doesn't say what is actually happening. Mr. McKevitt?
I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Oh, so
I
Mr.
can't-
McKevitt said that when he was on the premises, he saw the sign that gave him the information about the hours. Now, if that's not what you see happening, he's unaware of it. So, Mr. McKevitt, first you're hearing of it, or?
You want me to speak or him?
Oh, no,
It is the first I'm hearing of it, and the owner has indicated to me that it's not 24 hours. That's all I can tell you.
How
But
do
there's
you
a sign
know-
inside which posts the hours, and I remember it saying, last load at 10:30 PM.
I
Don't
know,
put it
I
on the
can see-
machine. That's why I remember it.
What leads you, you live very close.
I live there. I've been in the house 50 years.
Out this way. You must obviously know what you're talking about. So are you telling us that despite the signs, you see it open 24 hours?
Yes, the washing machine area.
Okay.
Yes,
So
washing
tell us.
machines is 24 hours.
Okay, I'm glad you told us. So tell us what that means to us. Tell us how that fits into what you want to tell us.
Okay, what I want to say,
Take your
I'm
time.
nervous.
You're doing a great job. Take your time.
thank you, I don't want to start crying, but listen. The traffic, the parking in front of my house, there are times I can't park in front of the house. You know, like you have guests to come up to park. That's how busy that street is. And with the new deli coming in, along with the gas station, it's, I'm talking too fast?
No, no,
No.
I was just trying to find the gas station, but I found it before I had to ask you.
Yes, that's new. And across the street, like they stated, they're very good. They have pictures there, and they park. In other words, the people that run the deli and the restaurant across the street, those people that work there, they park on West Raymond. In other words, they come across Nassau Road to park. Then, when the new filling station came in, the sign in front of there is no right turn. No right turn, you can only turn left. So then that gives the people coming into our street, even going out, you know, trying to get out of your street to go to Nassau Road, to go left, like you go into the Parkway. It's very hazardous. The traffic, it's just, it's not good. It's not bearable. And then for them to come and say they want to open up a a deli, you know, with the washing machines and all of that. Then they want to come and open a restaurant or deli where people come and go and they got to back out and whatnot. What do you do? It's too much traffic there.
So the primary issue for you, which makes a lot of sense, is that there will be a business there already. You know it's a business district. But you're telling us, if I understand you correctly, that putting a deli here is going to add a lot of cars potentially parking in front of your house, so you can't and your guests can't.
Right, because the church that's beside the deli, used to be Sahaki's Deli, you know, all these years. But beside, in back of the deli, there's no area to pull in, you know, to pull around. It's
So
just,
it's across the street from your house?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. McKevitt,
I wish I knew professionally. I mean, they sound professional and everything. I'm here by myself. My son is an architect.
you're doing a great
The
job.
other one is in construction, and nobody is with me.
But
I know what
you
I
are
feel, and I know
articulate-
what the problem is if I have company, and when I have company, and the parking, and even to pull out of my driveway. You're looking to see, you know, because they're coming around so fast, and then to have a deli open there, it's just horrendous. It's too much.
And you're doing a great job explaining the issue to us. Mr. McKevitt, so I'm feeling like a big part of the issue is actually the church. Not to say that more cars don't create a potential issue with more people parking in front of your house if they don't have elsewhere to park. So I understand. Mr. McKevitt, are there things that, is there anything you think you can do to make sure that at least the deli people don't park in front of our house? We've had various solutions over time.
No, we have signs up, sweetheart. We have signs up there that's been
What
up
do the
there for
signs say?
years. And the signs say, no parking, you know, after at a certain time. after 11 or midnight, whatever the sign says, it's no parking at night, right?
But that's a sign for everyone, but sometimes people who come before us with parking
Yes,
variances
they-
can do certain things. For example, make sure their employees don't park there, or warn patrons. I mean, I don't know, Mr. McKevitt's probably better at this than I am, and he might have, or his
Do you have exactly, the attorneys, do you have exactly what the sign says that's up about parking, restriction from parking?
If memory serves correct, on West Raymond, there's no parking from 7 PM to 7 AM? Would that
Right.
sound correct?
Yes.
There's no overnight parking in that area.
It's supposed to be.
That's what the signs say. And
That's what the signs say, but that's not what they do.
you know, if there's regarding enforcement, I encourage you to call the police department, and if people are violating it, then they should issue tickets to them. That's what should happen.
And I do.
Then you're doing your good thing as a neighbor for the community. I very much
But you're
understand.
making it worse
Yeah.
by bringing in a deli. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you have, and I'll tell you, West Raymond Street is a very lovely street. The houses are very well maintained. You know, it's a very good family atmosphere. I've been up it many times. I've been to this site about 4 times in the last month, because every time I do a hearing, I want to look for myself to see the uses at that point. And I was actually very particularly concerned about the parking. Now, again, every time I went there, I parked in the parking lot, which is next to the laundromat. I'll say every time I went there.
That's
there-
on Clinton. I'm
that's
on West Raymond.
I know, but I'm just saying, whenever I went to the site to be respectful of the neighbors, I made sure I parked in the parking lot, which is where they directed to go. So what then happens is whenever I was there, I didn't see more than 10 cars ever parked in that parking lot at once. So, and again, I understand where you're coming from. You want your area being, disrupted, but the other end of the day is we have an empty storefront.
But
And it's
are
been
you-
empty for 4 years.
But Mr. McKevitt,
Yeah.
are you willing to instruct, is your client willing to instruct his clients and his patrons, his employees, like, don't park over there, and to the extent you can put a sign up and say, listen, don't park on West Raymond, park in our lot, park on the street, would your client be willing to
Yes.
put in place those?
We
Now,
will agree to a condition that there'll be signs in the deli that the patronage nor the employees are to park on West Raymond. We will agree to that.
Thank you. And Ms. Cook, so I just spoke with counsel to the board, and I think a good solution for you, given that there are a lot of businesses.
But the cars they have to pull in, they have to turn around, they have to back up. What?
I have an idea. It may not be perfect, but I just spoke to counsel for our board, because I think what may help you is if there's a way to get some sort of preclusion, some sort of prohibition on parking in front of your house and maybe for 100 feet on your side of the street so we're going to get you the phone number for Mr. Bogle, and he's willing to help attempt to put in an application that maybe you could forget no parking after 11. No parking, street parking there. So maybe you can keep the space in front of you free or maybe it can be 1 hour parking. So a guest to your house can park for an hour, but people spending a lot of time can't park, if you think that would be helpful. Because I think you're putting up with a lot, and I understand your frustration. I don't actually think the deli is going to enhance the problem for you, but I might be wrong. But I do think that between the church, which probably has very little parking.
There's 2 churches there.
I know, there's one across the street. I have a feeling that churches don't often have to provide a lot of parking because they have special treatment under the law. So I can see how a lot of overflow cars could be in front of your house. But if you would like, counsel to the board is willing to give you the phone number, and he will help facilitate your putting an application in to the county, who controls that, to see if you can't limit the parking to more than just not after 11. So let's say 1 hour parking. So you won't have people parked in front of your house for all hours of the day, if you would like. You don't have to decide now, but we'll
Okay.
give you the phone number, and if you think that would be helpful for you, he will help you, put you in touch with the application process to just ask that people
Right.
aren't allowed to park forever in front of your house.
Okay, I already have the sign up about the parking. What hours did you say, sir?
The sign that I saw said from 7 PM to 7 AM. So it's designed to prevent overnight parking in that area.
That's overnight.
Is that,
Overnight.
is that acceptable to you?
That's what, no, I'm dealing with that now, and it's going to be even more so when the deli come.
But
I'm
what-
dealing with that, I'm calling the police,
No, but I'm
I'll speak with him to see what you're actually talking about,
No,
and
what
what
I think,
I can do.
I think what we're talking about is to ask the town attorney's office to conduct a traffic study through the New York State, through the town of Hempstead Department of Traffic Safety, and see if those hours should be expanded. So instead of just being from 7 PM to 7 AM, maybe during the morning hours or other busy times, so you wouldn't be concerned about people from either the deli or the laundromat parking in front of your house. And if that's what she wants to do, then we're fine with that.
Yeah, and I think actually more than that, maybe the church is an issue. There's 2 churches.
Right.
And churches, traditionally have even less of the required parking. So Mr. McKevitt's right. The point is that council to the board has been gracious enough.
And the new deli that just came there, yes.
Right, but.
And not only the new deli, the one that's already there across the street where the restaurant is, it's all,
But right, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is however many businesses are there, is there a way to stop them from clogging up this street in front of your house and maybe 1 or 2 of your neighbors? Because you do have a lot of businesses. So he's offered to help facilitate your making a request. Apparently, the county controls that. Making a request to alter the parking allowable on that street there for you in whatever way, whether it's to say you can't park during these hours, as Mr. McKevitt said, or it's only 1 hour parking, or 15-minute, whatever it is. We don't have to get into the mechanics of it now, but as we're trying to just find a solution, I don't happen to think, to be honest with you, that this deli is actually going to, the way this is working here with the laundromat, they're going to be in and out, laundromat, deli. I personally wouldn't probably park over there to run to the deli. I'd drive on by if there was no spot in the place, but maybe I'm unique. But more importantly is because of all the businesses, 2 churches, and all that's going on there, you have a legitimate concern. So we'll consider this case on its own merits, and we'll consider obviously what you've presented to us, because it's useful information. But as a side note, because I can see that you're doing your best to be a good neighbor and address issues that probably don't only affect you, but the neighbors. So Mr. Bogle has offered to help assist you in trying to put in a request to however you think would help in what you need and your neighbors. So at the end of this hearing, if you'd like to get Mr. Bogle's neighbor, he was nice enough to offer to do that, as maybe it will help also.
good. Could I meet him, with him?
Sure.
Okay.
Certainly.
So is there anything else you want to tell us before we finish taking the testimony? I think we understand the issue.
Now, repeat that, babe.
Oh, I'm sorry, so we understand what you've presented. I think we understand it very clearly. Mr. Bogle's ready to give you his information so that you guys can speak when this hearing's over. Is there anything else that you need to tell us about it? I think we understand what you've...
No, not about that. But I just want to ask you a question. What do this group, nice group, my first time in here, but what do you do when people buy property, one family house, and put 5 families in one house?
Well,
What do you do?
I don't think that issue is before us
No,
currently.
but what you would do is...
But
I
what
mean,
you-
is that a legitimate statement in this
What-
setting?
That is something for you to refer to the building department. But I think it has little to do with what we're here for today.
Right.
Okay? However, you're free to go to the building department if you feel that someone has purchased a home and there are 5 families living there. You can go to the building department and lodge a complaint.
Yeah, you call the enforcement division,
Thank
building
you.
department, and they will send someone out to inspect if
Gotcha.
some property is being used illegally. Again, like I said, it's nothing to do with this, but that may be an issue separate from this.
Okay.
Okay?
Building department, Town of Hempstead.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, and thank you for
Appreciate
listening.
your
Thank you, Ms.
your
Cook.
participation. Mr. McKevitt, you have anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing yet. Just to reiterate one issue regarding the insufficient backup space, indicating that in 2005, when the board had the expansion of the laundromat, this board did grant the variance for the insufficient backup. And again, it's exactly the same layout, except we've added 2 more spaces compared to Clinton. So the operation of this lot is exactly the same for the last 18 years.
20, what's the
Thank
backup
you.
instead of 24?
Just looking at the map, I'm going to say it's about 16 feet is probably the backup in between. I just did some quick math between those spaces. I say it's about 16 feet is the backup.
And quickly, for the record, tell us why 16 is sufficient instead of 24.
Because
Nutshell.
the way that the lot's configured, it's got a one-way circulation, so it works based on the one-way circulation.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. McKevitt, you, your client, Ms. Cook, and anyone else who signed in on the matter will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it is rendered. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention?
Next, we have case 51123, Woodmere, Young Israel of Woodmere. Special exception to install second accessory structure, play structure, exceeding horizontal maximum on both sides with more than required side and rear yard setbacks and not permitted in the front yard. Special exception to install third accessory structure, play structure higher and larger than permitted and exceeding horizontal maximum with more than required side and rear yard setbacks and not permitted in the front yard. Special exception to install fourth accessory structure, play structure higher than permitted with more than required side and rear yard setbacks and not permitted in the front yard, all in conjunction with religious use, also known as 859 Peninsula Boulevard. Gentlemen, please stand. Raise your right hand.
Good afternoon. My name is Shmuel Flaum, residing at 194 Wanzer Avenue, Inwood, New York, 11096. I'm the architect representing the synagogue today at the variance hearing. Say your name for the record.
For the record, my name is Stephen Myers, reside at 587 Church Avenue in Woodmere, New York. I'm the executive director of the Young Israel of Woodmere.
Good afternoon. David Gross, 584 Barnard Avenue, Woodmere, New York, Vice President of the Young Israel Woodmere.
Okay, earlier we had a Mr. Wagner here. Could you tell us what happened to him?
Yes.
Did you wave the magic wand and make him disappear?
So Mr. Wagner approached us because I think his time was more precious than the application that he thought he was here to defend. His brother apparently lives across the street and thought it was an application for a very large building.
Wait, oh, it was his brother.
He was here on behalf of his brother, who couldn't be present, and his brother was under the impression, because he saw the big yellow sign, that it was a building, and I explained to him it was accessory play structure for a playground, and he said, I don't think my brother would be against playground equipment for children, so he left.
Well, he said that here, but
He said it outside to us as well.
Okay, but he indicated here that we sort of suggested, and he indicated he was going to call. Do you happen to know if he called?
I think he tried to reach him, but couldn't, so that's why he came over to us
So he
to
made
ask
it-
us to show us the drawing.
He was in a swimming pool.
Executive decision he made.
What?
He made an
He
executive.
made an executive decision saying that his brother is not going to be averse to children playing in a playground.
For the record, he marked
Interest.
interested as opposed to opposed. Okay,
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. I'm here on behalf of the Young Israel of Woodmere, presenting an application for 3 new accessory play structures to be located in the southeast corner of a currently vacant open play area. Currently, there is no play structures. There's simple benches, a walking path, a bunch of trees, and the synagogue is in need of an outdoor play space for the children. They have currently, at the synagogue, over 1,000 member families with many young children. They have formalized groups over, holidays and Sabbath where the kids are inside, but there's a need for more program play outside. They never had playground equipment in this location. It's more unorganized play, and there's a resurgence of younger families with younger children who've been asking for an outdoor play area where the kids can actually play with play structures rather than in the streets or in the parking lot. So we're here before you seeking variance to place 3 play structures in the front yard at the intersection of Glen Drive and Longacre Avenue, where currently is an outdoor play space, but without any equipment.
What kind of play structures are you alluding to?
So one is a climbing structure. It's approximately 40 square feet total. And the height of that specific structure as labeled on the drawing is, give me 1 second, 9 feet 4 inches tall. Then there is a accessory play structure in the center. It's a combination of a few different things. It looks like there's monkey bars, a tower, a slide, 2 slides, and platforms to climb. That one has a high point of 15 foot 9 inches. And then there's a third play structure that's comprised of, it looks like a climbing wall, ladders, and 2 little indoor play spaces with obviously access. And that play structure is at approximately, hold on, 8 feet tall. So we have 3 different play structures, 3 different heights, catering to 3 different age groups. One is geared towards children ages 5 to 12. One is geared to older children, and one to younger children. So the play structure number 2 is ages 2 to 5. That's the one that's all the way to the left on your drawing. Then there's 5 to 12, which is accessory structure number 3. That's the middle one, the largest one. And then there's another one for 5 to 12, which is accessory play structure 4, which is all the way to the right at the corner intersection of Longacre and Glen.
And do you have any idea as to when those structures will be utilized by the students?
Yeah, the intention is that,
Timeframes.
yeah, the time frame is primarily when there is synagogue use during primarily Sabbath and the high holy days. During the week, there really isn't any children present for long periods of time because they're going to school. So the duration of use will probably be most likely Saturday morning or Sabbath morning, during morning and maybe afternoon time if it's a long Sabbath. And then during the high holy days and the other Jewish holidays, very unlikely that children from the synagogue will be there during the week because the parents aren't going to be there to supervise them. So
So you have no childcare there,
there's no childcare at the synagogue.
and there's no school?
No daycare.
No, there's no school. It's just a synagogue.
All right. And the one that is 15 feet 9 inches, what's the square feet of it?
The one that's 15 feet 9 inches tall is 159 square feet.
And the one that is 8 feet, how many square feet?
The one that is 8 feet tall is approximately, hold on.
Padding
Hold
under
on.
construction according to the state code.
I believe that one is, hold on. I'm just going to go in order because it's a little confusing. The one that's the most left, or accessory structure number 2, that's 120 square feet. The one that is number 3, which is the middle one, that's 159 square feet. And the smallest one is 40 square feet.
Yes.
And the padding beneath the structures would be?
Yes, specialized padding for the children. I don't know all the details, but I had a meeting with them, and it's specialized for the fall to minimize damage and impact. It has a certain thickness, and it's required by law. So there's going to be protective padding throughout the entire play area.
That's your case?
That is our case.
Chairman, I
Okay.
just have one more question.
Certainly.
It's on Glen Drive and
Longacre.
Longacre. What is there to protect it? You have-
There is a fence currently surrounding the entire area, and they're going to be reinstalling a more protective fence enclosure so the children do not go out into the street.
Well, and also something that would prevent a car from smashing into it?
Well, the street, it's set back far from the street, and I'm not sure where the synagogue is with their, with the Homeland Security. You just got the funding? Okay. So there's Homeland Security funding for security improvements, so they just got granted the funds, so I'm not sure what their security improvements are going to be, but it sounds like something is in the works for the securing the site.
Okay, thank you.
Questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. Flom, you and your clients will all be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered, as will Mr. Wagner, even though he's already departed.
Thank you so much.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Joanne, will you throw that out?
Next, we have case 51223, Baldwin, Alexis Lorminier, doing business as Safe Haven Daycare. Special exception for proposed daycare center in existing building, variance in off-street parking, and no provisions for on-site pickup and drop-off of children and attendees, insufficient backup space, insufficient two-way maneuvering, and maintain on a lesser lot, also known as 860 Atlantic Avenue.
Yes.
Please take a seat, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, for the applicant, Robert W. O'Brien, 877 North Corona Avenue, North Valley Stream, New York.
Weren't you here before us before for your daycare? Was she here before for her daycare? Oh, you look very much like a, I love that woman. She was opening that beautiful daycare. I thought you were coming back for more.
She said that she's come back from.
Actually, what happened is she actually came over to hearings one day and sat, and you may remember, and listened, and she very
Wait,
nicely
and you
came,
saw him perform and
came
you
up and
still
talked to
hired
me
him?
afterwards, and that's how,
After seeing you perform, Mr. O'Brien?
I don't know why.
I know why, Mr. O'Brien.
I am not lucky, I'm blessed that she did contact me. So I'm here today representing Alexis Laminier with respect to Safe Haven Daycare, which is a proposed child daycare center on business property in the hamlet of
But I
Baldwin.
interrupted before she got to give her name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My house address or the business? Okay.
Yes.
Alexis Lominier, 11 Cliff Avenue, Hempstead, New York, 11550.
And obviously, Ms. Laminier is here right next to me to answer any questions the board may have regarding the application or the operation of the business. The property that is the subject of the application is on the south side of Atlantic Avenue in the hamlet of Baldwin, approximately 131 feet west of Verity Lane. It has a street address of 860 Atlantic Avenue and is known on the Nassau County tax map as Section 54, Block N, Lot 4333. Property has approximately 145.75 feet of frontage on Atlantic Avenue, and according to the Nassau County Department of Assessment website, has roughly 27,000 square feet of area. All of the property is located in the business zone, and most of Atlantic Avenue in and about that area is used for business purposes. Right now, the property is improved on its east side and will remain improved on its east side with a one-story commercial building that takes up roughly 6,400 or so square feet of area, about 23% of the property. Approximately 70% of the property is dedicated to parking, which now has 34 spaces. And I believe the requirement is 34. It's just that I believe some of these spaces are substandard in the eyes of the building department because of backup space
You
and...
think it's 34 for her business and the other business? You think it's net 34?
Yeah, it's the 34. Because I counted 32 regular spaces. The plot plan indicates 32. I'm sorry, 34, 32 plus 4. I counted that, and I was out there twice. I didn't trust my first count, so I said I would do it a second time, so that when I came before the board, I could tell you that it was the case. The property, as it's currently being utilized, is used in its entirety as medical offices. So, and there's 5 office spaces there right now. If you were to pull into the parking lot and look at the building, you'll see 5 separate sides, starting with Atlantic Avenue and going to the rear of the property. It would be Baldwin Pediatrics, Halpa Family Medicine, BMT Acupuncture, J.S. Kaplan, MD, and 3D Mammography. Those last 2, the offices that were occupied by J.S. Kaplan, MD, and 3D Mammography became vacant, and those are the offices that my client is seeking to operate her child daycare center in. The combined square footage of those offices is just under 2,300 square feet. Ms. Adams, you
Oh,
look
I-
like
I was-
you're
I was just
anxious to ask me a question. I'll stop if you'd like to.
Well, I was just wondering if there's any outdoor play area.
Yep, and if you look at it's sort of funny, it's unique too. If you look at the building in the, I have to get my directions right, I apologize, the southeast corner, there is a strip of property adjacent to the building. That's going to be blocked off. It's fenced. The traffic, most importantly, traffic will not be able to get to it, and that will be the player. And my client is required to have that play area as per the state code. And she's limited also to the number of children. The most that she can have there, and she'd love to be full up, that doesn't guarantee that that'll be the case, will be 33 children. And she also expects to have 8 or 9 employees in a supervisory capacity. The total number of cars there that will be parked for any duration then will be maybe 8, maybe 9. The busiest time of days are mornings and early evenings, drop-off and pickup. Drop-off has a very big window. That window is 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. So, and not everybody comes at the same time. So, but the big thing is the medical offices aren't open. And by the way, from what we were able to ascertain, this is not an immediate care where people just walk in those medical offices, appointments are made, and I believe the acupuncture is appointment only, and I've never seen, I've been there several times, I've never seen that office opened at all. The late afternoon pickup is a smaller window between 4:30 and 6 p.m. All drop-offs and pick-offs will be done by automobile. There's no bus, there's no van, and what I think is very good about this shopping center with the medical offices, there's no truck traffic. There's no, if there was a deli or a Dunkin' Donuts, and you'd have trucks coming in, commercial traffic at all hours with parents pulling in, maybe in a rush. Could it be problematic? Yeah, but the way it is right, it's a very quiet area. I mean, I was there with my client one day. It was my car, her car, and one other car. It just is not and you'll see that there's a business property to the west. This property is fenced off from that, so there's no overflow traffic from people using that property into this. Now, as far as, I know it gets mentioned, they with daycares, they like to see dedicated parking. In fact, it's not on the plot plan, but the landlord has said to my client that he'll work with her any dedicated parking that she wants. So if you look at the shaded area of the building on the plot plan, and you'll see the 6 spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which would be directly to the south of the 2 handicap spots. Those will have signs that will say pick up and drop off only. I believe they're marked as spots 1 through 6, Mrs. D'Amato. You'll see the 6 spaces at the south end adjacent to the building where the shaded area is. And there'll be signs there say pick up and drop off only. And we talked about the way it should work, and that is this. Parent comes with their child or children. They'll pull into the spot. They'll park, turn the motor off, get out of the car, go get the child. If the child's in a car seat, obviously it takes a little bit more. We'll take the child by the hand, walk them into the daycare. They'll be met there. Once they know that the child's secure, it's taken by a staff member in. They'll get back, get in the car, and they'll go off to work, home, or whatever else they have for the day.
What are the ages of the children?
The ages?
I can have 18 months to school age.
Okay. And you don't have any after-school children?
What do you mean, like school age?
No, after-school children, is there any drop-off in the afternoon? Like
No. Well, if they're school age, they'll be getting dropped off to me around like 2:30, 3 o'clock, yes.
I apologize.
I'm so sorry, because I could say school age children, but most of them don't come to me then. They only come when they're closed, the school holidays are closed.
Oh, okay.
But if they would come to me around 2:30, 3 o'clock.
And the 33 includes those
Yeah,
children?
school age, Yeah.
Right, because the capacity is the capacity.
33.
Yes, Mr. D'Amato. I got ahead of myself, and I actually went through most of my presentation, but go ahead.
So you need 31, you provide 34, but some are not acceptable.
Yeah,
But even if I skip over that, the backup.
Right.
Sorry. So at the end of the day, you need 31 for both businesses, right?
I believe, I've seen a couple numbers, Mrs. D'Amato, and I don't like not giving a solid answer. I thought it was 34.
No,
and we do
34
have
is
to-
what you provide.
Well,
So you
34
need-
is what we provide.
Well, but
We have
they're not all
34
accept-
spots. It's
No.
just that,
I think I got it figured out. So you actually need 31 under the calculation.
Okay.
You provide 34, but not all are acceptable. But the acceptable ones rise to 28. So that's a 3-spot variance, okay?
which I would argue is de minimis, but still, on top of that, there are other factors here.
Right, I agree. And the other issue before us beside that, right, was the no provision for pickup, drop-off. And you've explained to us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
Yes.
will be reserved, I assume, with a sign. So, and then you do have the other 3.
Right.
You have actually extras if we approve the backup. And the backup, I don't know what the backup is for 29, and I think 30 has sufficient backup, I'm guessing, it's angled. 29 is the only one I don't know. There's 5 spots with insufficient backup, but just for the record, backup is required at 24. 4 of them have 21 and a half, so it's not like we're down to 8 or 9, and 1 has 20.5. 29 is a mystery, 30 looks like it probably has enough.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, at most you want a 3-spot variance. You're also providing for the other issue we have here, which is the drop-off, et cetera, of the children. So it's very, very de minimis, in fairness. And I don't really like you, so like, in fairness, this is very de minimis, and whenever people come before us with childcare, it's such a need in this community, so I always appreciate a
and
proposal, especially a good one like this, that's going to help provide the childcare.
And I thank you so much for your comments, but just so I make the case full, and there's even something better here. Unlike, most times when you see daycare, they're down by railroad stations, they're industrial areas where you have commercial traffic, and God forbid there's an emergency, you don't know what's going to... You have 2 doctor's offices right here. And I was saying to my client the other day when we were out at the property, God forbid there's an emergency, somebody's right there, says, there's a firehouse right down the street too, on top of that. And I also said, gee, and it's funny, your businesses might be feeding one another, one with daycare and one with the pediatrics and the family. No, good health visits.
Right, but also, I assume your client, does she have the state licensing already in the
Yeah.
works?
That'd be,
They're waiting actually for this.
I know, it's always a case. So if we were inclined to grant this, of course, it would be subject to your client,
Getting all the necessary
Getting all the
permits,
licensing and state current, all the licensing, state, county, whatever else is in the game.
comply with all laws, statute, ordinances. and-
All right.
All right,
And that's our case,
good luck.
unless the board has
We
any
need
other
more
questions
daycare.
for us.
Yeah.
We really do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions from the board? Any questions
Well,
from
Mr.
any
Chairman, I would move that the
singular
hearing be
member?
closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Mr. O'Brien, you and your client will be notified by mail of the board's decision once it's rendered.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions?
Okay, next we have case 46423, East Atlantic Beach, Sean McDermott. Variances, lot area occupied, side yards aggregate, rear yard, construct 3-story dwelling with utility platform attached thereto, demolish existing dwelling, also known as 17 Malone Avenue. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please take a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Howard Curtis, architect, 241 Lansdowne Avenue, Carl Place, New York, 11514.
Sean McDermott, owner of 17 Malone Avenue, East Atlantic Beach, New York. I reside at 201 Oak Street, Floral Park, New York. Yeah.
Good afternoon. We are here today seeking approval of a new three-story FEMA-compliant structure in East Atlantic Beach on Malone Avenue. It is in a Residence C building zone. Mr. McDermott purchased the property in July of 2022. His intention is to remove the existing home, which is not FEMA compliant, and construct a new three-story home that conforms with FEMA regulations for construction in a flood zone. The home will have 3 bedrooms and 3.5 baths. It'll be specifically for Mr. McDermott and his wife, and he has an adult son who will visit from time to time, and, but will not be living at the house full-time. The house will have an elevator. The first floor will be a walkable storage level and also our building entry. There are other homes similar to this home in the area that are 3 stories, FEMA compliant homes. Specifically, there's a large home at the end of Clayton Avenue, which is a 3-story FEMA compliant home. And there are several on Oswego and Mohawk and Troy Avenues, typical throughout the neighborhood. It's basically the typical model of the new normal for construction in a flood zone. The home meets FEMA and New York State standards for elevation pertaining to the base flood elevation and freeboard elevation. 3-story home will be fully sprinklered. We will have 5-foot side yards on each side of the home. And although we do not meet the allowable aggregate for the zoning, 5-foot side yards are typically acceptable in this area. It's basically the standard on these properties that the homes basically have 5 feet on each side, roughly. Some have 4, some have 5, some have a little more depending on the lot size. Our structure also has a 5-foot rear yard to the building, but we have an elevated and cantilevered equipment platform on the back, which extends 3 feet off of the house and reduces the rear yard to 2 feet. But it is elevated enough to be able to walk under it for fire safety. A firefighter can get under it, a service person can get under it. It's not blocking the path. You know, a person standing, even carrying, you know, a step ladder or a small ladder can get under it. And as I say, that unit will be that platform will be supporting air conditioning units. Mr. McDermott has a 9/11 breathing situation, chronic breathing issue, and his intention is to put high efficiency units that are very quiet. They don't generate the same sort of decibel level that a standard air conditioning unit would put out, and that would be what would be on that platform. Yes, so there'll be several units on there because of the size of the home warrants, 3 to 4 units.
Yeah, I was there right away, yes. Yes, I was.
There are no roof decks intended on this. There are no stairs or steps or any way to get to a roof deck at this time. That's not our intention. The home is basically in line with other FEMA-compliant homes that have been constructed in this area. The front of the house is set back 10 feet from the front property line. Most of these homes, the physical home is set back 9, 10, 11 feet. They all have some type of either a masonry porch or a deck that reduces the front yard to the number on the zoning data that's on sheet 1 at 4, I believe it's 4.3 feet is typical to the deck, porch, whatever you want to call it. We don't have that, so we stepped our house to the 10-foot. We did provide 2 off-street parking spaces. We have 40 feet from the front property line to the structure on the left side of the plan, which allows us to technically get 4 vehicles off-site. It's going to be Mr. McDermott and his wife, so most times there'll be 2 cars there. When his son is staying with them, he'll need to get his car there. You can't park on the streets from May to September down here, so you need to get your vehicles off the street. So we would like to be able to, have that area to put 2 to 4 vehicles at any given time.
Can I just ask you on the plans? So when there's a FEMA level, some plans reference the first floor as the floor above FEMA, and some reference it as the FEMA level. In your case, it looks to me like the first floor may be a reference to the FEMA level. It's just semantics, but I just want to follow along. It would be on A1 of the plans. It says storage, elevator storage, beach lanai patio. Is that the FEMA level?
On which sheet?
A1.
A1. And your question specifically is?
Is that the FEMA level or the first living space level?
This is the non-habitable level, which allows for storage and a building entry.
Right. So what's called the second floor plan
Is our first living level, yes.
They go both ways, that's right.
Yeah, I actually believe, I believe I originally filed this as a 2-story home, and I was asked to change it to a 3-story by the building plans examiner.
So you're actually only proposing 2 levels above the FEMA level.
2 living levels above a walkable FEMA storage level and building entry. We feel the project is not really out of character with other new or renovated homes in the area. Before today, we knew of no objections presented to us or to the town building department. I understand there are 2 neighbors here that may want to speak. I don't know if they're here for or against, but we also do have 2 support letters from neighbors that live directly across the street, and we would like to submit those. One is at 2 Malone, which is diagonally across on the corner, and the other is 14 Malone, which is directly across the street.
We'll take those into evidence.
And they would be basically looking at this structure, 24/7. We hope the board appreciates, our proposal and that you take the aforementioned facts into account and look favorably on our presentation.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 people who are signed in opposition. Who would like to speak first, or do they have counsel?
Chairman, I just have one question.
Go right ahead.
I'm looking at
What are you looking at?
Google Earth on the
Okay.
the satellite view. All right, right now you have a house and vacant property?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
You own both of them, is that how you get the 60?
Yeah, it's a 60 by 60 lot with the 2
Right.
combined.
Thank you.
I do. Good afternoon.
Name and address for the
Dennis G.
record.
Kelly, 120 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, 11561. I'm the attorney representing Christina Laporta, who lives at 10 Clayton Avenue.
Hold on.
I'm holding.
I got it, go ahead.
I'm here today to represent Christina Laporta in her opposition to the proposed plan. Ms. Laporta obviously has no problem with a new FEMA-compliant home being built in the neighborhood, understanding what FEMA regulations are. However, she does have a problem with the positioning of the home and the size of the home relative to her home. In the endeavor to give you a clear picture of what we're discussing, I was hoping to submit several exhibits, one of which is photographs of Mr. McDermott's present home and my client's home, which is immediately behind it. Another is a group of photographs of what the block looks like, the front yards of the homes on Malone Avenue. And the last two are what Mrs. Adams was referring to. I have Google satellite photographs of the block. First and foremost, our position is that what's being proposed is out of character with the neighborhood, and that the front yard that's being requested is 10 feet. The average for the lot is 4.29 feet. The average, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, the average for the block is 4.29 feet, and that's what the code allows.
The average is 4.29.
Right.
They're proposing 10.
They're proposing 10. Okay, I know I've got a point to make. I understand your confusion, yes. No, they're giving us more than what's required. That was my confusion. Right. However, that's detrimental to my client who lives immediately behind him. And therefore, I'm making the argument, Mr. D'Amato, that it's out of character with the neighborhood, and there's no reason why the house should not be repositioned and moved forward on the lot. At this point in time, there's 11.2 feet between the present structure and the property line that separates Ms. Laporta's house from Mr. McDermott's house.
The property line or the two houses?
The property line.
So they're setting it back rear yard 11.2?
The setback presently is 11.2.
The existing structure?
Yes. And what's being proposed is ultimately 2 feet to my client's property line because of the cantilevered platform allowing for the mechanicals to the house. Mike?
Wait, so what mechanicals are proposed there versus on the utility platform?
It's the same thing.
Oh, sorry. But isn't the utility platform not even near, isn't your client sort of back-to-back with the existing structure?
Well, what's happening is Mr. McDermott is proposing, and that's why I submitted the photographs to you. If you look at the first batch of photographs, the first page of which is Mr. McDermott's present home.
Uh-huh.
Okay? If you look at that photograph, the front of the house is almost immediately, in fact, it's only 1 foot 6 inches from the front property line. In other words, the front yard setback right now is 1.6. And I appreciate Mr. Curtis's two arguments, one of which was, they're basically porches and/or garages along the block, but that's still a 1.6 foot front yard setback. 1 foot 6 inch setback. What Mr. McDermott is proposing is pushing the house back 10 feet, let's say 9.5 or 8.5, and creating an L. So you see the yard on the left? That's Mr. McDermott's yard. He's going to extend the rear of the house all the way south, within 5 feet of the side yard setback in the south. So what's being proposed is an L. So the entire rear of the house is now going to span the entire width of the yard, setting aside the 2 5-foot side yard setbacks that are being proposed. Primarily on the south side of what's being proposed will be the mechanicals. The south.
Wait, I just want to follow you because, okay, because the south is toward the ocean.
The south is towards the ocean, and behind that structure, on the west side of that structure, will be the cantilevered mechanicals right on what is the back of my client's house and part of her yard. She objects to those mechanical structures being placed there and requests that Mr. McDermott consider putting them someplace else.
Now, how far is your client's house from What's your client's rear yard setback?
It's about 5 feet. We measured it this morning. My client's house was built in 1941. And you'll see the photographs of the house, Ms. D'Amato, in that first packet I gave you. You can see the rear of the house, and you can see the front of the house. There's 3 photographs in that first packet.
Where would, so, I haven't been there, but it looks like, for the most part, it looks to me, for the most part, like the structure he proposes is kind of like, maybe not exactly where your client's house is, but sort of, and then this proposed utility pad goes southward.
The utility pad will be right behind my client's house and part of her yard, which is just to the south of that white house that's depicted in the second photograph.
Where would your client, where is he supposed to put it?
Well, he can either move the house significantly forward. That would alleviate some of the sound and pressure on my client's property. But, you know, you could put it on the roof. You can get creative with these things. It sounds to me that there could be some space in the front of the house as well, in that yard.
What if he flip-flopped the house and the pad? I would think that would be worse for your client. In other words, instead of a one-story utility pad, there's a whole house.
No, we do. We're having a whole house all the way across. Yes, the existing house, Mr. Mann, I'll apologize because I don't know if I'm expressing it correctly, but if you look at the plans and you look at Mr. McDermott's house right now, there's a house, and then he's going to add more to the house and go south across his rear yard.
What if the L shape went the other direction?
It'd be the same thing, primarily. It really would be the same thing. It's a wall. It's a wall that's being erected 2 feet from my client's house. Right now, the house is 11.2. Sounds like they are moving the house back to accommodate more cars, tandem parking ostensibly, and that's the only reason.
Can you explain to me on the plan here where it says open first floor?
Which plan are you looking at? The survey?
Yeah. What does open first floor mean?
A, I didn't draw this. B, I don't see where you're referencing open first floor.
Show it to me. See right here?
Oh, on my site plan she's referencing? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yes. So what will happen in that space is we're going to have, the floor above will cover that, but that is an outside space that the McDermotts will have sort of a covered little patio area that's, what's above it? 2 floors of framed house. I'm sorry, I thought you were referencing the survey. I didn't realize you were referencing my plot plan.
It's open. That's the primary issue, and I think it can be accomplished several different ways, because not only is the house out of character with the neighborhood, and I've given you a whole slew of photographs of what the block looks like, but it's also detrimental to her, but I can continue. This is also a substantial ask. This is not a small variance by any stretch of the imagination on several different levels. So you have, presently the building area is just over 1,000 feet. What's allowed by code is 1,260 feet. What's being proposed is 1,786 square feet. The lot coverage is allowed is 35%. The lot coverage existing at the moment is 29%, and Mr. McDermott's requesting almost 50% lot coverage. So I think a couple of things can be accomplished if you move the house forward, and you might make it a little smaller. I don't disagree with you at all, Ms. D'Amato. In fact, you nailed it. My client's block comes from a different era. It's completely different. But, right. And it's a highly sought-after block. But I'm talking about the character of the block of Malone. My argument is that what's being proposed from Malone is out of character with the neighborhood. And as a result, I'm making the argument that it can be pushed forward. The character of the block, let's say it that way, as opposed to neighborhood, is of homes that go right up to the front yard boundary line of the properties. That if you moved it forward, you would at least give her some relief from this wall that's being built in the back.
Oh, hold on. So it's currently proposed, I think the structure itself, not including the platform, it looks like it's 5 feet, right?
In the back
Yeah.
is 5 feet to the structure,
Okay,
and in the
wait,
front is...
and their house is 5, I get that. The platform is 2. You have 10 in the front, which is greater than what is required, but I understand. You do have a parking area, so would there be is it possible, and it may not be what your client wants, but let's just say for the sake of example, what if, would your client be agreeable, and I'm not imposing this, to a scenario where everything was 5 feet from the property line like her house is? So the platform instead of 2 is 5, so that theoretically that's a 3-foot scoot forward. It wouldn't cheat you out of parking, it wouldn't require a front yard variance. I'm trying to just get a read on if there's a scenario that makes it a little more palatable for all
Well,
involved.
the concern is that moving the house forward of the 10-foot setback, which is predominantly the given number for houses, not porches, not decks, not masonry structures. These houses are all roughly 9.8, 10.2 from the front property line. By pulling my house forward, am I not setting a precedent that now is going to potentially bring a slew of people into this building department at a later date saying,
No,
I
not
want my
Malone.
house at 7 feet, I want my house at 6 feet. And then they creep closer and closer and closer, which in effect then builds bigger houses, right?
No, I wouldn't agree with that proposition.
And also the fact that, it was highlighted that we have a 49% lot coverage, but I have a double lot. You look at some of these smaller
Whoa,
lots
whoa,
that
whoa,
are
whoa,
30
whoa.
by 60.
Is it 49% of the double lot or 49% of the single lot?
No, it's 49% lot coverage of our 3,600 lot. But you
of-
have houses that go 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet, and 10 feet in the front, and they're at almost 60%. So you could make the argument that, well, that's a half-size lot, but that shouldn't penalize Mr. McDermott. 60/60, yes. 1,700 square feet. 1,700 square feet. Correct. That's correct. Well, we'd rather not. What if we just relocate the platform? Can we relocate the platform to the side, and that solves the issue of having a platform that's 2 feet from the property line, and the house is... To move the platform? I think moving the house is more extreme than moving the platform. It's a cantilevered platform that has no poles that come down to the ground. It's suspended out of the existing structure. I could move that to one of the sides. I could move that to the north side. I could move that to the south side. The ductwork doesn't come out of those units, only an electrical component comes out of it, and that gets sent to where the air handler is. The ductwork comes out of the air handler. It would be continually 5 feet across the back with no additional appendage of 3 feet, reducing the rear yard to 2 feet. Everything you see on the site plan would remain in place, except the platform would be in a different location. In the rear, yes.
My
Yes.
house,
In
my
the rear, it
client's
would
house
be,
is 5
yes.
feet. Yeah, it's okay. So I made the argument that the variances requested are substantial. There is an alternative method of achieving what the applicant's seeking, because I still don't understand why the need is for 10. Is it just aesthetic, or is it something else, the 10-foot front yard setback? Right. But I gave you a package of photographs of the block, and everything is out to the property line. Now, what I had heard, to fairness to Mr. Curtis, was that Mr. McDermott is hoping to obviously have his family there, including his son, during the summer, and it kind of affords, though it's tandem parking, would perhaps give him an additional parking space off the street.
I have 40 feet deep there, which would allow me to get 4 cars. If I start creeping that forward, it's going to impinge on that. That's the concern. And again, you were correct when you said that the 10 feet creeping that forward, what my concern was that, again, the houses, right? So I know from past experience dealing with this building department, you typically have a house that sits at 10 feet to align with the other houses, and then sometimes you end up designing a front deck or a front porch, and that comes to the average. But the house typically isn't ever set at that front yard setback. It's just not done. You're not going to find, I don't think, I may be speaking off the cuff here, but I don't think, Mr. Kelly came in with a lot of photographs, but the photographs I saw all showed porches and decks and patios at that setback. Not the physical house structure, not the living space of the family room, the living room, the kitchen, whatever it might be in that front door. Those houses aren't at 4.29 feet, they're not. The houses are at 9.8, 10.1, 10.3. And it's a porch, it's a deck, it's a patio. I mean, it's a terrace. It's not the house.
I will concede that what Mr. Curtis says relative to the porches is true. However, there's still a significant structure on the front yard boundary of all of these homes. These are not, the classic porches or decks that you might see in Long Beach these days, where it's a wooden structure up. These are solid, stuccoed brick walls that are on the sidewalk. So I'm not asking Mr. McDermott to move his house to 1.6 feet. Miss Laporta is not an unreasonable person. In fact, when the house that's been built on the beach years ago, she asked for just some adjustments. This big towering monolith that's on literally on the beach to the south of her property, the architect made, the owner was more than happy to make a couple of adjustments, and boom, house has been there, it's fine. If you drive down Mr. D'Amato, you'll see it. And that's what she's asking for here, just a little consideration and moving the house maybe 5 feet forward. That's it. There'll still be 5 feet from the front of Mr. McDermott's house to the front yard setback. It'll take 5 feet away from that 40 feet that Mr. Curtis was just referencing relative to the parking, and then move the mechanicals to the side as he suggested. And I think that's what Ms. Laporte is asking for, if I'm not mistaken.
I think moving the platform accomplishes it solely because it gives a 5-foot setback that is pretty much the predominant setback on almost every house in the rear yard down there. Any new house constructed is coming in here to this board, and they have a 5-foot setback. Nobody has 10 feet. Nobody's designing a house that is leaving 10 feet in the back. It's just not being done. This is what I do. I've been doing this for 35 years. This is the way people design these homes, and this is the way it operates in that area. It's very similar to the east end of Long Beach, and it's different zoning, of course, but the lot size is the same. They're 30 by 60s. The houses end up being very similar in their design, their concept. This one happens to be a double lot, so we have the ability to make it a little creative and do something different. But maintaining a 5-foot rear yard, which is the same equivalent number that Ms. Laporta has. To arbitrarily tell Mr. McDermott, you have to give us more, I think that's unfair. I mean, I think to give 5 feet and to salvage the same that Mr. Kelly's client has, I think that's fair. I think I can move that platform somewhere else, whether it be the north side or the south side, and that gives a 5-foot rear yard. That's the same as what his client has.
I'm still, and again, I appreciate Mr. Curtis's arguments. I know Mr. Curtis, I respect him. I don't have any issues with either him or Mr. McDermott. I still don't hear a reason why it needs to be pushed back 10 feet. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. Right now, the rear yard setback is 11.2. What's required for the district is 25, and I understand that's not reality in East Atlantic Beach. But 11.2, and you're just giving up 10 feet in the front? I don't understand it. Okay. Okay. Do you have anything you want to say? Ms. Laporta would like to speak as well.
Yes, I do. My name is Christina Laporta, and I reside at 10 Clayton Avenue. And my point is the following, Mr. Chairman and board members. I've been living in that house since 1963, so I know my Clayton Avenue really well, and you probably, since you've seen it, you have seen that the homes have been preserved as they used to be. I know all the families who live there, so we have been very careful to maintain Clayton Avenue as it is. No wonder everyone wants to buy homes on Clayton Avenue, because we respect spaces. There are two salient issues here. It seems to me that the proposed structure is taking advantage of every millimeter of space possible, without any regard to my home nor to my person. What do I mean to my person? I really don't want to have my neighbors, no matter how nice they are, living on top of me. That is just something I don't want to happen. Second, the utilities, the air conditioning system, they should be covered. They're so unaesthetic if they're uncovered, and they should not be behind the house where I can hear everything. I disagree. Those newfangled air conditioning systems, they do make noise, and I know that for a fact, because I have a neighbor across the street that is complaining from the house that is right on the beach that has the same proposed as the McDermott's plan, and it makes noise. So then I have another issue, which is very important. That is, where is my quality of life? You live right on top of me, then you're going to give me noise from that system, the air conditioning system. It's bad enough that we have to go 3 stories high in compliance, I understand, after Sandy, etc. It's already bad enough that. So at least some consideration to me, to my privacy, to my quality of life. I love that home. I love Long Beach. I love my Clayton Avenue. I go out there to rest. I have an apartment in New York that's going to become my place of business, and then I'll be moving to Long Beach. So, but I've been coming here since I was 6 years old to Long Beach, so I really understand what it means to me. That means to me, that house means tranquility, a place where I can write, I can think. If I have my neighbors right on top of me, and then on top, if you're right on top of me with this big so-called L-shaped wall, where's my sunlight? It's going to be completely blocked. Does it have to be so high, and does the width has to be so, so long? If I don't have sunlight, if it's completely obliterated, the sun will not come on top of my property on the walls that need to be. I mean, if all this rain and storm comes upon those walls, how are they going to dry? It's very humid out there. I'm the second house from the beach. So that's why we're proposing a pushback. You meaning south is facing the beach? Yeah. The house on Malone facing the beach?
The house south of the subject property.
15.
The green and white house.
The green and,
Green and white house where the Packers used to own it. Your house, and then there's the Packers' house, it's a white house.
yes, that's very small house. That's, yeah, right. Well, it's not green and white, it's brown and white. It's brown and white. It's a rental. It's owned by a gentleman that I don't remember his name.
Yeah, my question was, I don't live in that area, but I live in a somewhat similarly situated situation where the sun rises and sets. So I'm just looking at, based on your remarks, the degree to which that could potentially block. And the rising sun, I think it's possible, but shortly after that, then it would be that house to the south that might be the issue. And after that, the subject property would not be in the line of the sun. I'm just trying to eyeball it here.
Yeah, right, okay.
That's why I was wondering the degree to which that house, but if it's a very short house, it probably doesn't affect it.
No, it doesn't affect me at all. In fact, it's a beautiful little home. In fact, I could have been inconsiderate. For example, they have a yard here and back here, and I could have put trees there and blocked their sunlight. I didn't do that because I don't think that's a neighborly thing to do.
Yeah. I'm just not seeing,
Mr.
I don't
Monaco,
think there's too much that the sunlight is going to be impacted by the structure, given the trajectory of it, but I could be wrong.
It will definitely impact Mrs. D'Amato. It
Can I
will.
ask a question?
Especially if they go that high, too, and so close, yes.
Okay.
If somebody was to purchase 7 Malone and wanted to put a 3-story compliant house, would they be forced to move that house to 10 feet on a 30 by 60 lot?
Well, it wouldn't be compliant without the required rear setback.
But just as in my case, where I'm being asked to move my house forward to provide 10 feet when everybody else has 5, would a new house at 7 Malone be forced to
Well, they
be
would
there?
have to, unless they set it back, black and white rule with the zoning ordinance, they would come before the board, yep. Yeah, and as you're implying, pretty much every house being built in that area has to come before the zoning board because substandard lots,
And they
setbacks,
ask for 5
It's
feet.
a normal situation. But I just want to hear.
Well, that's basically it. I mean, I am very particularly worried about the air conditioning system. If it's a way to place it somewhere away from me,
I think he's offered to do that.
Yeah.
That's what's on the.
yeah, so that's very important to me. Okay.
Would you be, you would probably be willing to
Right, exactly.
Well, we could potentially put some type of opaque structure in front of it. But my concern is now the building department is going to consider it a bigger structure, you know. I don't know.
But if you end up moving it, that may be moving.
All right.
Nothing else.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else want to speak? No? All right. Do I have a motion? Any other question? Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't see him.
Yes. Hi, my name is Thomas Barden. I live at 19 Malone Avenue, which is the property that is just right next to it on the north side of the property.
Okay.
19 Malone Avenue, we are the property that's just north. So we are on a 60 by 45 piece of property, and we have a very small yard on our south side. The south side of the house is also where our bedrooms are. If you see, we have an exterior deck which comes right off the master bedroom on the top floor. We also have a small little patio in the back underneath that where we sit out very often. Obviously, the air condensers outside the property is a huge issue for us as well, even in back, near Ms. Laporta's house as well. But as they had just suggested, moving it to the north side of the property would put that right outside where we would not be able to have a quality of life and be able to sit outside and have a conversation if 4 air condensers are out there going all at one time, especially during the warmer months. At the same time, we also have a huge tear down and rebuild going on just directly right across the street from us on number 14 right now. So what we are worried about is that we've had a lot of issues with trucks coming up and down the street, delivering dumpsters, delivering equipment, and because we are so close and we have a small garden right there, we're worried that when the house is getting demolished, things going to fall onto our property. That is another major issue that we have as well. But obviously the biggest issue is that if we have those air condensers outside on the north side of the property raised, that is right level with my bedroom, and as well where we also enjoy our time outside of our house. As far as the setback is concerned, obviously, I know 10 feet is very generous. Coming up any further, I can understand a few feet, but coming all the way up, that would obstruct our view of the beach, which in turn would impede our property values if we ever did try to sell the house. So that is something hopefully you do keep in mind. I understand, like I said, 10 feet is very generous. Coming up a few feet, if that had to be done, that isn't a problem, but to come up to that full property line to match where our porch is, that will completely obscure our view of the beach that we have right now.
Good afternoon, I'm Fran Alkire. I'm also, this is my son, we own the property at 19 Malone. My main concerns is that EAB is a very small community, 9 blocks long, 2 blocks wide. There are about 600 homes, most of which are on 30 by 60 or 45 by 60. A handful are on larger properties. Majority of the homes in the community are 2 stories, some 1 stories. And recently, people are selling their houses and everyone's coming in to build these mega builds. My concerns are, 1, the infrastructure. These houses were built in 1930s. The streets have never been paved in our community since these houses were built. The sewer, the water, and the gas lines are just as old. Our street on Malone has 60 tar patches and more, and repatches due to these sewer, gas, and water issues. This is a very narrow, dead-end street. Any kind of large vehicle, 18-wheeler or dumpster, have to go back down this narrow street, causing the concern for parked cars on either side. I've personally had my brand-new car a couple of years ago, as the garbage truck was backing down the street. Not everybody drives backwards really well, and I had $6,500 worth of damage to my car. Another time, the town of Hempstead gave approval for a movie company. They tried to do it, and they broke down my fence. That was another $1,000. These dumpsters weigh between 20 and 50,000 pounds, which was putting a stress on our fragile infrastructure. We're already starting to get the potholes. The other issue I have is the electricity. We have one transformer at that end of the block, which is well over 50 years old. It hangs right pretty much over my house. And now we're going to put these new builds up, which are going to entail elevators, more appliances, electric garage doors. And recently, PSE&G was at my house last week, and they told me that that transformer and that pole need to be replaced because they're old and shaky. Fast forward to Tuesday night of this week, my air conditioner is off, we hear a pop and burning. Something happened with the connection from the transformer, and PSE&G was at my house this morning trying to fix it. And now we're going to put all these mega builds up. It's going to be a draw. The tear down. Our house is barely 36 inches from 17 Malone. When they bulldoze, that bulldozer, it's not going to be like you're going to set off dynamite, it's going to implode. It's going to go, because I just watched the house across the street from me get knocked down.
Wait, I thought I must have misunderstood this gentleman. I thought that your house was on the northern part of your...
You said that our property line is within 36 inches, not the house. You made it sound like the house is within 36 inches.
No, our property line. The property line. This is 17 Malone. Here's our house. My boundary, I should say the house is 36 inches from the boundary wall to that house. I can show you a picture of how close it is. Let me show you. Excuse me?
Is your house on the northern side of your property?
Yes.
And your yard is to the south?
Yes.
And you're saying the existing house on that property, which is proposed to be demolished, is very close to your shared property line?
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Yes, I'm sorry. I hope I was, I tried to detail this out and make it as succinct as possible. So when they tear it down, we're going to have difficulty exiting our property with dumpsters and workmen because we have very little or no parking, off-street parking anymore with, everybody building. Also, yes, even if they built the pup tent, the tear down's going to affect me in some way. And we just finished repairing and painting our boundary wall, which is between a new garden, and we have our cars right there in the driveway. And those will not be cheap to repair should they get damaged. And this 3-story structure now is going to go up about 35 feet. My sunlight is going to be blocked, and my air is going to be blocked. And with all of this construction that's going to go on for the next 2 years or so, Christina talked about quality of life. What is our quality of life going to be like? Living on the beach with all the sand and the dirt and the dust just keeps coming. The Department of Buildings' opening sentence on their website is, The Department of Buildings strives to preserve life and property and maintain the suburban quality of life. That being said, we have nothing against the new homeowners. They are very nice people and want to create their dream home. However, in doing so, our quality of life after living in this home for nearly 40 years will be disrupted daily for possibly the next 2 years while they relax in the comfort of their home where they presently live. Safety. A new tear down and build just began right 18 feet from us. With the narrowness of the street, the close proximity of the houses, if 2 builds go on at once, we will have a safety issue. Ambulances, fire trucks can't get to the fire hydrants at that end of the street. What's going to happen in case of an emergency? So having said all of that, I have some solutions that I'd like to offer, that we would like to offer. If you allow this bill to go forward, we're asking for a 20 to 25-foot barrier between our houses like a strong net to prevent damage to our property. We would like this in writing and also stated that if any damages is incurred, who will be paying, the homeowner or the contractor? We want to ensure that the condensers on the plans now stay to that far side of the house, because if we move them over to where we are, that's right at where our bedrooms are. Go ahead, you answer.
I mean, can we ask the contractor, is that possible? If it would be,
I would, if they can, move it, they're making that L, put it on the south side facing the green and white house. So it's
number 7 Malone.
number 7 Malone. Have it face that. Okay. I wanted to ask him, what's the tonnage on those air conditioners? I wanted to ask him, what's the tonnage? Can he answer that?
About 8,000 each, 8 tons each,
8?
about 16
Okay.
total.
Okay. We also want to ensure that according to the plans that we've looked at, that the house will be set 10 feet back from the... Huh?
We already touched on that.
Oh, okay. Final request is we ask that the build be delayed until the house 18 across the street from us is completed. This narrow... Say it again? We would ask that the build be delayed till the house across the street is completed. We're not going to be able to handle all of that equipment, bulldozers, et cetera, all at the same time. Yes?
14 is currently in the beginning phases of being rebuilt right now.
Yeah, they just tore it down. I just have a question. After Superstorm Sandy, I was the first responder and worked with the Office of, the Governor's Office of Recovery and FEMA. And we did this for 3 years. When I look at these plans and these new builds, I see that you have to have first floor FEMA compliant. But back then, nothing could be put on that first floor. Now people are allowed to put storage in everything. And I know, I've been told the FEMA rules have changed. So it's sometimes based on necessity. I mean, our block, Malone Avenue, sits 7 inches above the water table. We did not get any problems from Hurricane Sandy. And not one house in East Atlantic Beach was 50 or 51% damage that they had to raise.
It's not that, that's not how it's evaluated. It is a 50% rule, but it's not like you have to do 50% damage. It's actually the opposite. People don't want to have to elevate their homes for the most part.
Right.
But as long as they do, most people who end up having to come into FEMA compliance don't actually want to. But when one has to, based on whatever changes they're making, they have to have, so I'll tell you, because I know you said it's not damaged there, I'll tell you what. So the base flood elevation that FEMA,
Yeah.
the FEMA maps, so the base flood elevation, which is elevation, so it's not going from the ground, it's elevation, sea level, right? Base flood elevation at the location of this property is 14 feet. The state adds another two called design flood elevation.
Yeah, I was looking those up.
Okay, so in this case, it's 16 feet. So the finished first floor cannot be lower than 16 feet elevation, which they're proposing. In that space below it, you can have storage, you cannot have living space. I think they'll allow you, you could obviously put a car in there. You can, they allow you, some people put equipment in there on stilts, but it's not habitable space.
No.
So this house they propose is actually a 2-story living space like a lot of the houses there.
Right.
It's just that they have to
But
provide the FEMA floor below that, so it looks like a 3-story. Believe me, it drives us crazy too, but it is what it is. So they really are only asking for 2 floors of living space.
Oh, no,
It's just that they're stuck.
I get that. But the thing is, our community, this little community whose everything is old, we're trying to put these new structures in that are going to hook into ancient sewers and pipes.
Well, the engineering department in the towns,
Excuse me?
sorry, my voice isn't clear. All of that sort of stuff is dealt with the engineering department. So when when or if this proposal is approved in some fashion or another, or even a non-variance requiring proposal, then they jump through the hoops with the engineering department, the streets, all that. So the stuff like the septic, the drainage, all that stuff, which is way above my head because I don't really know a lot about that. But the engineering department of the town and whoever else may be involved, sometimes it's a county street, that's all handled, and it's supposed to be evaluated.
Do our concerns that we're speaking about today get passed on?
Not all of them, but for example, if you've raised a concern about whether or not, let's just say the drainage can take it, or the water table, or the septic, or the sewer, or that's all evaluated when or if a proposal is either as of right or accepted here. Then they go through an entire, review process with various departments in the town, again, above my head, that address, is there sufficient water, is there sufficient drainage, and all of those things.
The short answer there is some other department has jurisdiction over that. We do not.
We're not qualified.
You're not what?
We're not qualified to make those
I
decisions.
know you're not qualified.
The building department makes those
make,
decisions.
Give me a direct answer, but can you pass, what we say today is recorded, can that be passed on?
I don't think it's our job to pass it on.
We don't have a mechanism for that.
Okay.
But I would imagine you could probably send a letter. I don't actually know.
So, with our concerns that we have today, how do we get an answer as to what is going to be addressed or resolved?
With respect to what? To the building and the structures that you just alluded to?
With the tear down and
That is within the jurisdiction of the building department, and you can express whatever concerns you have to them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anything else?
I mean, they're
Is there anyone
professional.
else?
No.
These are professional builders. It's, we're not hiring 3 guys with crowbars to come and take down a house.
Get it.
That's point one. Point two, a lot of what was expressed is, based on the public utility. I mean, that's not Mr. McDermott's issue to worry about, that. The building department will tell us if we need to upgrade these systems. And
You don't need to say it like that, like they have some legitimate
I
concerns.
understand, I do understand that, but
I assume your client would take those into account.
it's unfortunately, it's kind of moot to what we're here for. And I think it's very unfair to ask Mr. McDermott to delay his build. As you know, we're several months away from a building permit. We have to finish these drawings. We have to refile with the building department. There are these other entities that we have to deal with as far as, some of these utilities. So we're legitimately, we're probably 5 to 6 months away from having a building permit. So the house that's being built across the street at 14 Malone, I believe is going to be, in 6 months, is going to be well on its way to being completed, 3/4 completed. And, who carries the costs for Mr. McDermott on the property while he's waiting? What if they have a delay? Is he responsible for that?
We don't ask people to delay projects, just so you know. So I get your argument, but that's not within our, if we approve the project, we approve it. If we don't, we don't. We don't have a mechanism, nor would it be appropriate to ask one person to delay for another person. We just don't. That allays the issue.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm going to close the hearing. No, we're not going to have a debate. No offense intended. We're not going to have a debate, ma'am. I think that the point that you raised has been addressed. Do I have any other questions from the board?
I would move then, Mr. Chairman, that the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Everyone who signed in on the case will receive a copy of the board's decision by mail once it's rendered. Thank you. Safe home, everyone.
Second? Any opposed?
I can't keep
All in
this thing.
favor?
Right.
I'm going to take a 5-minute recess so that you can
Stephanie's hands.
feel your fingers once again. Thank you all for coming and
Thank you.
expressing your views. You're free to go.
I would hope that we could work out something and be amicable. Two builds going on at the same time is going to be very
We can work
stressful.
out something
So
amicable.
let's see what we can work out.
Okay, thank you.
It didn't even look like you. Oh, I have a lot of things going on. It didn't even look like you at all. Your hair is usually longer. Honestly, I didn't recognize you.
Yeah, maybe you can get them closer, I don't know. Yeah. You might be able to put them up right there. Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah, one right there. You know what? Let me hand these over to you. They're some, some things to hand up to the commissioners. Yeah, yeah, it's a little statement and. Well, it's supposed to be 5, so yeah. Oh, thank you. Uh-huh. You're giving those to them, yeah? Yeah. Okay. It's just like so hot. Maybe they're going to take a little recess. Possible. Keep us waiting long. Most people using the ladies' room. Somebody's having a cigarette. I'm like, you know what? I should really not get around.
Next, we have you're gonna give it to the chairman, but I gotta finish marking it in.
You okay, Steph?
Good to go?
You
Ready
good?
to rock and roll?
Okay.
Okay,
Next, we have case 135823 through 136023, Lido Beach, Lido Point Lookout Fire District. Special exception to use premises for philanthropic use to maintain firehouse with front yard setback on Lido Boulevard, Regent Drive, and with side yard variances. Special exception to use premises for philanthropic use to construct addition to existing firehouse with side yard variance, waive off-street parking, special exception to park in front yard setback on Regent Drive, and permission to park in Res B district with insufficient backup space. Use of variance to maintain storage container in Res B district with front yard variance on Regent Drive, also known as 211 Lido Boulevard.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Mitchell Ross. The law offices of Mitch Ross. It's 1979 Marcus Avenue and 2825 210 Place in Bayside, New York. First of all, thank you very much. It's the late hour. Oh, okay. How's that? A little bit better? First of all, thank you very much. I understand the late hour, so we'll be as brief as we can. I just want to make a few prepared remarks, okay? Our fire district, the Lido Point Lookout Fire District, it's consisting of the two smallest hamlets in the large town of Hempstead. But this little district plays a more pivotal role in the fire and first responder emergency EMT needs of the town than I think most people might imagine. That's because by our charter and practice, we are the first responder of record and handle all emergency calls made at the Hempstead town beaches. And I would say our fire responses can be made all the more unique and difficult owing to the beachy natural building materials often used in our area and because of the close building-to-building proximity in some of our area. So we're here before you today because we must improve our own infrastructure. We're saddled with two outdated firehouses. The one at issue today in Lido Beach is 66 years old. Our other in Point Lookout is 55. But we're here to talk about the one at 211 Lido Boulevard in Lido Beach. We're here for your help because as a small district, our funds are very limited. And so you will see how that financial limitation has led us to the requests we make of you today. Now, I've handed up my sort of summary bullet point description, which if you want to, you can follow along with me as I go through it briefly. I've also handed up a concept, a volumetric drawing by a manufacturer of a future desired complete improvement new building, a 211 Lido, that would be in the same, essentially the same footprint. No, I'm saying this because with apologies, I want to say it's not formally before you now. But if you'll indulge us to talk about it after this, so you'll have it in your mind and maybe with whatever indulgence you can give us because of the idea that we would like to not have to go through a second process only because of our financial limitations. But we'll leave that up to your jurisdiction, and I'll try and make my discussion of that as brief as possible.
Okay, hold on, just so I understand, because I'm familiar with the firehouse. Obviously, you guys do good things for everyone, so not to be difficult. So I understand you wanted to give us a preview of what might be to come or what the wish list would be. But then you said if you might not have to come before us again. So explain, because
That would be if the board were to see fit to issue some kind of a very restrictive, let's say conditional immunities declaration. That would be based upon a concept where, and the concept that we've handed up is a volumetric drawing that shows what the most that we would want in the future, which is essentially the same footprint, not quite 20% more of what we have now. It would not exceed the height.
seconded by Council. I know. No, you didn't make the request for the immunity declaration.
Right, it's
That's
in
what
the
was
initial
confusing me.
Right, it's in the initial application, it's not in the notice, but it's in the initial application, the words are. And, yeah,
Hold on.
that's why I'm not pressing.
I'm not sure we're
Yeah.
even legally able to. Yeah, this.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, well,
We're
so-
here, we came for your help in sort of phase one, let's call it that, would be our initial stopgap plan to at least lengthen one of our bays of the existing building by 11 feet, which creates a small enlargement of 165 square feet. We have to do that because the modern equipment is longer than, obviously, than the trucks from 1957 or even in the 60s when this was being used.
That's the only addition you seek to construct, right? At this
Right,
time?
that's the only addition we seek to construct under, let's say, the stopgap measure. We have, I wouldn't call it a wish list, but our actual intention down the road, when we can get financing, is to have a new modern building with essentially the same footprint, although there's a little bit more lot coverage, less than 20% more. My statement, and you can look at the quick plan that was done by the manufacturer that shows where we would be filling in. We're filling in open areas. We would maintain the same height. And, if there is, of course, the interest of the board to make sure that anything that it helps us with and what it supports not be like writing a so-called, a zoning blank check. We're not looking for that. I would be more than happy to work with the board. We would be, and with council, come up with appropriate conditions on anything like that. And also, if there is some procedural requirement that we should go through about this partial immunities idea for a second part of this application, please just let us know whether we can, let's get through the small enlargement first, and then consider keeping the book open
Well, I
about
think
getting
the
a
way we
declaration of
do that
immunities.
is to address the issues you have before the board now.
Okay.
Which unfortunately don't have an immunity or partial
Right.
immunity request.
Mhm.
So we can address these, we can hopefully decide them in short order. And then if you want to expand your application, I think council has indicated that you could ask to reopen this hearing
Oh.
and maybe amend your request, but without holding up the current request. I mean, I think we think
Yeah,
that's the best route we
Yeah.
can get right now to try to achieve what
Yes.
the community needs.
Gee, thank you. That's just great, and I also want to thank the board and your staff for, understanding the importance of what we do and of really, really working very hard to help this move.
So you have
And I
that
want to
small,
apologize, by the way, the hearing on the 12th had to be adjourned because our sign guy got the notice wrong anyway, so I apologize for that. The board has been great, and that's very, very helpful. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll come back with whatever the board needs
so
to
right now you
consider.
need the front yard setback, you need the side yard variance, you want to construct that small addition 11 feet in the rear for the elongated equipment.
Yeah. In the handout I just gave you, I have a quick summary of that in the first 2 pages. I can go through it if you like.
No, you
I
don't
think
have to.
you don't have to. I think if we can just get our arms around the requests here, because to be honest with you, I don't think I think they're relatively de minimis. And I think this public
Okay.
service that you guys provide to the community is a significant one. So you want to park in the front yard setback on Regent Drive, you have insufficient backup space, you want to maintain the storage container that you already have.
Yeah.
And then you want to make the small addition to provide for the
Right.
storage of your
Right.
equipment.
By the way, all of those zoning objections, let's just say they're pre-existing from the pre-existing
Correct,
non-compliance.
correct. The only
Yeah.
new thing
Uh,
appears to be this small addition that is necessary to
Small
maintain the
addition,
equipment.
which
for the betterment of the
reduces the maneuvering room a little bit in the maneuvering aisle.
I think we all understand the request.
Yep.
Yeah, wow, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Move the hearing be closed, the matter be placed on the decision calendar. Everyone who has signed in on the case will
Would you
receive a
like to
copy.
make a motion?
I would like to move, okay. That works for me. All right. I would move, Mr. Chairman, that case 1358 of 2023 through 1360 of 2023, Lido Beach Point Lookout Fire District, affecting the property at 211 Lido Boulevard, be approved as requested.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Good. Good to go.
Thank you very much. Okay, right, we'll see you again as shortly as possible on that other one. Oh. Okay, let me write your name down. So much. Okay, actually, that was very, very good. I'll talk to you outside.
Yes,
Yeah.
the acoustics in here are terrible.
Listen, these guys have put together such clear plans. They've been great. And they're here that.
Patrick. Same thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Good job.
Can't have to put her thing on.
Okay. Patrick, you want to call them? I'll call them. Cases 504, 505, 506, 507, and 508 of 2023. Oceanside, Joseph Seeger. Do I have any discussion from any of the board members? Any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I move case 504 to 508 of 23 in Oceanside.
504 through.
Didn't I say that?
508.
504
I thought you
through
said
508. Joseph Seeger, located at 28A Mulholland Place, be approved as requested.
Shed conditions.
Shed conditions. There you go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? I have to look at this. We
Which one?
approved it, 20, Mainland Place? I'll tell you a story about Mainland. No. Yeah, I want to kill somebody over that one. Case 509 of 2023, Merit Grace Reformed Baptist Church has been adjourned to September 27th at 2 p.m. Case 510 of 2023, Roosevelt SK Property Corp. Do I have any comments, any
Yes,
questions?
I have some comments.
I knew you would.
Oh, you're so nice to me. I think that's a good case. The one thing I would like to focus on is I don't believe in granting this. We're actually granting use variance. I don't think this should be characterized as a warehouse. I'm in favor of it, and I would like, if we're inclined to grant it, to explain that what we are granting is the use of some storage space ancillary to the use of the
deli.
Deli. And before that, though, I would move that, as it relates to case 510 of 2023, affecting the property at 453, 455 Nassau Road, that the board adopt a negative declaration as a secret determination.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I would move, as it relates to the same case, that we grant the requested relief with the caveat in terms of the characterization that I mentioned earlier.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Case number 511 of 2023, Woodmere, Young Israel of Woodmere. Do I have any discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
I move case 511 of 2023, location 859 Peninsula Boulevard, Woodmere, be granted as requested.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? Case 512, 2023, Baldwin, Alexis Lorimer, DBA Safe Haven Daycare. Heaven is different. Do I have any comments from the board? Any discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
I move case 512 of 23 in Baldwin, located at 860 Atlantic Avenue, be approved as requested
Second.
with the typical,
All other
daycare.
licensing
Correct.
requirements are
You
met.
bet.
Second.
You know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, extension. Cases 318 and 319 of 2023 have been adjourned to November 15th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Case 464 of 2023, East Atlantic Beach, Sean McDermott. I think that somebody who lives on the South Shore of Long Island should inspect that case.
I'm happy to go there again. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood because I've inspected a
I
number.
may actually go there. You know what? I have an affinity for Atlantic Beach.
Yes, I'm familiar with that
I
area.
might buy a house down there
Mr.
since we'll be the new Hamptons
Oh, listen to you.
at $11.5
And the
million
other one's open to
for
that.
cases 1358, 1359, and 1360 of 2023 was granted from the bench. That's the Lido Point Lookout Fire District. Do I have a motion? Is there anything else you'd like to
You guys
discuss?
want to look at any of the things on the reserve calendar with regard to the sign Garden City, as well as Christian Brown subdivision regarding the garages that he's not going to put on the property and extend the parking pad. And the last one we have is the west side of Inwood Avenue, something on Inwood Avenue.
He wants to
You
look
want to look
at
at that? Okay, so hold that. Do we want to look at the subdivision case regarding this Christian Brown case in,
Without the...
without the garages?
I want to wait until Joe comes back for that
Okay,
one.
and the last one is the sign, GB Forest.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's Kimberly.
Do you want it to be a monument sign or?
Well, we were
see
going to
the,
look at to
I
see,
need the site and radius. I just want to see what the visibility is.
here's the site plan, radius map, and sign plans right here.
This is the one I have to do, right?
7, yeah. Pull out here, not with their set, okay. Set 15, it's really not, I don't think it's a visibility issue at all.
If we wanted to
So
do like
if
a
you want to
monument?
lower it as a monument.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, she likes that.
So, with the granted, it's under the conditions, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a motion.
So you want to, well, should we figure out the height?
Well, there's a monument to put any height on the pole. Because
Well, I mean, they may, if you take out the pole, that doesn't necessarily mean they want it to be this, I mean, they
No,
want,
it's fair.
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
Um,
4 feet?
Let's see.
4 feet? 4.5 feet?
I don't see.
How-
It's to the other side.
What is this?
So weird how they don't.
6
No, but
feet?
that's just that.
6 feet, yeah, the sign itself is 6 feet, and it's maintained at a height of 84 inches,
So
which is 7
maybe
feet.
you want to give them a 7-foot sign or, well, ask them if 6 sufficient. If they say fine, fine.
They already have
Ask
some
them
built.
if we grant them a monument sign, how large would they like it?
Yeah, let's see.
Well, then it's not granted yet. You can't get it
No.
dropped in out the door.
They may want something like 180 inches,
Wait,
15 feet.
How tall are those other ones, Kim? I
She
think it's
can't
better
tell.
just
She
the
didn't
sign.
measure them.
I didn't measure it, it was driving my car going. I'll take it in here, right?
I think we should
Look.
grant them, if we were to grant them, Mr.
This
Vogel,
is
right
one.
now, take the pole off and make it
Help them.
monument, then it's a 6-foot sign.
Yeah,
Is it?
that's 5
What if we
feet.
just grant that,
Look
and
at
if they
this.
go, well, you know, we can't see it then, I think they can see it.
You want to do 5 feet?
That's what I think, let's do 6. It's,
Yeah, but
in
in
other
the
words, take the
location
pole
that
off.
it is, can it be seen? If it
Yeah,
goes
Yeah,
down to a
15
monument?
But
feet
it's not a
back.
visibility issue, it's actually, I think we should just grant it without the pole, that's a 6-foot, that's what it's already designed as. And if they have a crazy thing, they can ask us to reconsider 7, right? There's that procedural mechanism in it.
Well, yeah, we can always, once again, the board has the authority to reopen any matter.
Right, so can we just move that we grant them a 6-foot monument?
I move that we grant it with a 6-foot monument sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions.
And then, yeah, stick it.
Anybody going to make a motion to adjourn?
Are we done, Mr. Cole? I move that we adjourn until our next scheduled meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Let's get the heat done.
I'm opposed. I like to stay for a couple of weeks.
Why don't you